guys? New Noise is the song name. Oh, this is wild. I don't even know how to- New Noise is the song name. Old movie, not the show, but old movie. Friday Night Lights. When I first heard that song, like 15 years. I'm about to destroy this mic. One sec. But it was also in The Bear recently. If anyone's seen that show, it's an incredible show. Okay, hold on. I do not know why this will not drop down. One second. It's driving me. I'd move it higher up for that takes. Got it. No, that doesn't do it. I can't figure it out. I give up. Yeah, it was recently in the show The Bear. If anyone's seen that show, it's a really, really solid show. Yeah, just so you guys know, English only. I don't really mind if you talk Portuguese in the chat. However, I can't understand it and won't be able to respond to it. So here, I'll send the song in the chat because I closed it. Never mind. It's New Noise. You'll find it first link. I thought the song was in the opening for Ravendawn. Always with your haircut up to date. Yeah, I need a haircut really bad right now, actually. I was supposed to get one, but I had to change it because of work meetings. So you as a knight on the test server? I'm not sure what you mean. Yeah, so just so you guys know, today is going to be super, super chill. I've been wanting to do a live stream for a while now, but just because of time, it's been difficult. And with that, though, I've been wanting to do these a little bit more chill moving forward. Usually we do like a big announcement, we do giveaways, and we do all these things. And that's amazing, obviously, for engagement. Like, if we do an announcement tag on the Discord, we get like 10 times more engagement than if we just post something, right? And so obviously doing an announcement before the live stream goes live would be smart, building up hype and stuff for it. But the truth is, we have so many announcements coming over the next like 2 weeks with launch and then post launch that there'll be almost every day like already a tag happening. So I didn't want to, worry about or bug people's Discords too much, I guess, because at the end of the day, I get it. Too many tags and you want to mute a channel and stuff like that. So we try to be really smart with that and make sure that we don't annoy people too much. I've been in game Discords where they're like every 2 hours for every single thing, they're like doing an announcement tag, and it's so annoying. And so we try to be smart with that and not bug you guys too much. And the truth is, with these live streams, like the intention really is just that people who really love Ravendawn and really want to know every little thing about it, they come in and can chat with me. Speak up. Sorry, I might need to increase my gain. Is it still too low? Because I can't talk like louder, but it very well could just be the gain. You're coming in fine. Okay. If there's an issue, just say so. But ultimately, like, we want to do these live streams or I want to do these live streams, I should say, for those that like really, really, really care. And so usually if we are just like putting stuff in the Discord saying, hey guys, this is happening at this time or whatever, those that really follow us a lot are going to be in here because they're probably in the Discord already hanging out. And those that aren't, then they just don't get bugged about it. And also it keeps the questions a little bit more interesting for me as well. When we have lots and lots of new people, and please don't let this discourage you if you're new from asking questions, because in the end of the day, I get it. But And probably today I'll cover some more questions that I've covered a lot before and talk about it more in depth again, because we do have so many new people that have joined the Ravendawn community and the Discord community. I mean, I think we've grown like 5,000 users in our Discord in just the last bit. And that's obviously gonna, like, it's like, I think yesterday we grew over another 200 in just the Discord alone. That doesn't include like socials / mailing list, which is always, usually there's way more people that will go on the mailing list and make an account than people that join the Discord, because Discord's usually for the most committed people. And so with that, I'm happy to kind of talk about some old questions again, but I do like getting into like some more interesting stuff and new stuff. I'm happy for this stream. I think you sound good. Thank you. Can someone ban Unfashionable? I appreciate, hello, sorry for bothering you. I want to offer promotion for your channel, viewers, followers, views. The price is lower than any competitor. I'm sorry, I'm blocking you. I assume you're just a bot anyway. Will Ravendawn be on the stream new game section? I'm not sure if we get to choose that, to be honest. I will ask our CMs to look into that, though. They're probably listening, so if you don't mind making a note of that, and taking a look. Now let's talk about endgame. Yeah, we definitely will. Sorry, I'm just kind of planning how I want to tackle stuff. Probably what I'll do, guys, is kind of like usual. I will go over a ton of questions kind of throughout the stream, just ones that I see from chat. If your question gets missed, feel free to ask it again a few minutes later. Please don't just like keep spamming the same question every minute. Try and wait like 3 to 5 minutes. Some things I might just not answer. I'll usually still read them out and just specify why. But obviously it's impossible for me to answer everything. Usually in these live streams, even the ones that I've done that were like 2+ hours long, I still don't even get to like most of the questions. So apologies. And I'm usually like really far behind too, because I scroll as I'm reading questions. I don't see it like in real time, because if I see a question, I'll stop on it and make sure I don't go past that so that I don't kind of miss the next one. So I'm usually like 5+ minutes behind anyways. So just apologies for that in advance. That's not, I know that's not a good streamer habit. I know you're supposed to be like in real time, but you release early. Unfortunately, we cannot. This gets asked like all the time. There's a lot of reasons for this, but like some things to understand, like we had our launch roadmap set like months ago already, right? We had most days like very meticulously planned and why we have certain dates for certain things. We also work a lot with the press, right? And that's super important. Making sure that they know when we're announcing things as well, so that they don't announce it early and that they don't announce it too late, that they don't get enough views on it because it's like old news. There's a lot of things that go into a launch, but not even just that, just for the sake of our team. We obviously like, we can't just suddenly tell them, hey, we're launching a week early. They have their things that they have to finish and get ready. Yeah. And mentally prepare too, right? Because one thing you guys got to know is the release of a single player game is very or an offline game, I guess I could say, is very different from like the release of an MMORPG. When you release an MMORPG, that is going to be your busiest time. The lead up is obviously incredibly busy too. But when you go live, that is when a lot of us are going to be working every minute of the day. Especially people like myself and Neos, as many of you know. I won't mention kind of other staff because a lot of them you don't engage with as much. But a lot of us kind of more senior staff are going to be working like every minute, and probably sleeping very little. And this comes with the genre of game that we're releasing, and that's fine, right? We understand that it's not a thing that we complain about, because it just comes with the game. And obviously we could just work normal 9-10 hours a day. I say normal as in the sense of like, some developers in like other studios, we do a lot more than that usually. But we obviously could do that, but then, you know, things don't get fixed in the time that we want, if there's like big problems coming up, you can assume that our entire team is like working every minute on it, and yelling over voice channel to get things done. And like, you know, we're very on top of stuff. And any minute we're awake, like we will be on top of stuff, especially for like the launch month. So yeah, so a lot of people asking about server infrastructure. This has been something that for forever, guys, we have, sorry, I got a message from Neo, so I got to check that to make sure. Okay. Whenever I get a message from him, I got to make sure that I like don't have like something wrong on the stream, or I got to like fix something. So, so a lot of people have been asking about like server infrastructure and where our server hub will be. This is something that we've mentioned for like years, that like we won't really share this until launch. And the reason why is because we really didn't know. There was so many things that we wanted to try and explore and see what made sense and see what worked best, and look at other games on how they had successful launches and post launches. And even at this point, there's still a couple things that we are weighing. But right now, what we've had for past test phases is we've had essentially a global server hosted in the US East. The reason why US East is the ping for most of EU is about 100, if not lower. Some locations are a little bit higher, but it is relatively very low, especially for this type of game. I understand for like a first-person shooter, like every millisecond is a massive deal. And don't get me wrong, like as someone who played StarCraft semi-professionally for a year and a half, and has always been like competitive in games, I understand that small amounts of ping do make a difference. There's no doubt about that. But I also understand that different games have different requirements. So playing, again, an FPS, you're going to feel that ping a lot more than you would in, you know, certain MMORPGs or a survival game or something like that. Anyways, going back to the location, it's also because it's very low ping to South America, which is really important. Generally, US East is what most games that do a global hub, like if anyone here has played Albion Online, they are globally hosted in US East. I mean, now I think they have Southeast Asia servers. And the reason why is because Southeast Asia is the one place that has quite poor ping to the US East. That is really the place that deals with the worst. And because of that, in the open beta, we tested out a proxy network that we built up. Essentially working to reduce the ping for everybody to the US East server. So most people that saw really troublesome ping, like in the 150s and 160s, which to be clear, a lot of games, 150, 160 is not even noticeable, and really doesn't like hinder your gameplay. But we saw a lot of those pings drop from 150, 160 down to like 120, 130, which is incredibly solid. And even people in the US, like most of you that are US West, most games have US East servers, and you probably were playing on US East servers as well. To be clear, this doesn't mean that for sure we, like right before, won't decide to open up another location. But we would obviously do that before launch. And in the end of the day, there's a lot of pros to having a global infrastructure. I won't go into all of those right now, but there is a reason that major games like Albion Online had a global infrastructure. It generally works way better for the player base. When we have a thing like our channel system, it works way better. In the end of the day, there is nothing worse. Like one thing to mention is on releases of MMORPGs, it is any MMO studio understands that they're going to lose half their audience in the first week. And the reason why is because maybe the game is just not for somebody, right? And that's very normal. Single player games will drop 90% of their audience in the first day. No one bats an eye, right? But when it happens to an online game, people get concerned. But this is normal, and this is what studios expect, right? In the end of the day, let's say that you're hoping to have 100,000 daily active players, right? So you're like, okay, our goal with this title is that we'll have 100,000 people that play every day. That's amazing, and that would be like a huge success for us in the game. What happens is you're probably, okay, well, probably on launch, we're going to have like 300,000 daily active users, right? But you understand that this number won't stay. It's impossible, because probably half the people that log in, they're going to play for 5 minutes, be like, I don't really like this game. This game isn't for me. And that's normal. Like there's tons of MMOs that I've logged into. Within 5 minutes, I'm like, I don't really like this game. I'm going to go play this one. That is super normal. It's also normal that after a week or two, people are like, I like the game a little bit. Not a huge fan though. And you also bake that in, right? People like used to, they attacked New World a ton for this. It was really weird. Seeing their Steam charts go from like insane numbers to like literally 10% of that within like a month. And like, yeah, New World had its issues on launch and now it's doing incredibly well. But in the end of the day, like they reached numbers that no one thought was possible. At one point, they had like 1.6 million viewers on Twitch or something. These are numbers that, of course, were not sustainable. And they just went like incredibly kind of like viral with creators at that time. And so, of course, they lost 90% of their audience within a month. But that doesn't change the fact that the game was still a huge success. And that's why it's still around today and doing really well. And getting updates and has a strong development team behind it. Because at the end of the day, they hit their numbers that they wanted to hit, right? And the reason why I say that is because, you know, in the end of the day, for launch, like we're probably going to have a lot more channels. The reason why is for a couple of reasons. One, we're probably going to cap the channels at a much lower population than we will have like the day after launch. The reason for this is population density, right? If you have 500 people, or better, if you have 1,000 people in like the level 5 zone on a channel, that's a lot of people, right? That obviously. If you have 1,000 people spread across the first level 30 zones, that's not a lot of people. That's not too bad, right? And so we will likely have the channel limits. We'll probably have more channels and much lower capacity on launch to make sure that those starting zones are not absolutely chaotic. And then we will make those channel populations larger. And cut out some of the channels. So just so you guys know, like this is stuff that is really sad as developers too, because like obviously this is something that we almost were considering not doing, right? Because we're like, okay, let's do like double the amount of channels with half the population allowed on each of them, and then the next day we'll cut out half the channels and double the population allowed on each of them, right? To smoothen that early game. Well, we already know there's going to be people that log in and be like, LOL, like half the channels are gone, game's dying, right? When it's like, well, no, like we doubled the size of the channels. And so those are things that as developers, like these are the things that players don't always know is like a lot of our job is also understanding that people are going to take that and use that as a narrative, right? And so we have to be really smart about it as well, right? And that's why this is something that people talk a lot about how like games like kind of like fail by having queues on launch. And yes, there's absolutely examples of that. Like when games have like 12-hour queues for launch, like, yeah, that's probably not a good thing. But ultimately, sometimes a queue system is important to do stuff like make sure the early zones aren't too busy, right? Make sure, make sure the flood of players in certain spots is not too overpopulated. There are reasons for it. Yeah, there's ways that a queue system can be really important and used. Okay, I'm like 8 minutes behind on questions. So when will you guys start more aggressive marketing? I guess I can share this. Monday. So we've already like ramped up our marketing over the last bit, especially over the last couple days. Something with marketing, guys, ad spend is way more expensive in December than it is in January. The reason for that is Christmas shopping, right? Everyone is competing for ad space and spending whatever amounts to make sure that they can sell products to people before Christmas. So we reserved like 95% of our ad spend to start in January. So that has already started its push, but Monday is Monday. I guess this is kind of a big announcement. Monday, our official launch trailer drops. So we dropped our cinematic in December. This is our essential like launch gameplay trailer. And so this drops on Monday, and that is when it'll be going out to all of the press. It'll be going out to content creators. It'll be going out to various websites that just, run certain coverage, not press sites, but like kind of forums. That is when everything will go out. But we are waiting for that day because we want the trailer to be a part of that. When are you going to post the last changes? Probably, or definitely next week. like definitely before the end of the week, as in Friday, but possibly sooner. It really depends. Like, you guys got to understand that we'll talk about some of the changes today, and we have a huge list of changes already typed out and ready to go, but we will have more changes coming, right? So we want to like kind of wait as long as possible to get all those changes in, just so we don't have to do like another updates notes. Scrolling down. By the way, yeah, please, if you don't speak English, please feel free to just use Google Translate. I can almost always figure out what you're trying to ask. Some of these are bigger questions, so I'm just going to pause for a sec on them. GCD does not get impacted by ping, to be clear. We have spell batching in the game, so just because your ping is a little bit higher, your GCD is not like longer. I want to make that super clear because there are some games that have it. I think Tibia actually has exactly that issue. We do not have that. We have spell batching. So you are able to use an ability or an item earlier than allowed, just like in World of Warcraft. And that is why ping does not affect your overall DPS. I do understand this is in some MMORPGs. This is why we built a spell batching system. And that's why in World of Warcraft, there's people that play like, I played with an Australian player for like 2 years. We did RPGs together, and he had like 350 MS ping and was able to play almost as well as anybody else. And the biggest reason is because of spell batching and WoW. And when I say this, I'm talking on like a gladiator level. I'm not talking on like a 1400 challenger level. I'm talking on gladiator level, like top percent of the game. He was able to play, and a huge part of that is because of spell batching. We will talk about range weapons. People are asking about that. Yeah, I did share it in chat, or I shared it in the Discord, so someone is mentioning it. Yeah, so because a lot of people have already mentioned it. Again, this is like 9 minutes ago. Apologies. I'm gonna zoom forward soon. People have been mentioning because I mentioned in the Discord already. Just so everybody knows, we did remove the 20% slow that happens when you basic attack with a ranged weapon. This was a mechanic we wanted to try. We wanted to see how it felt. We did a lot of internal testing on this, guys. Like, these are not things that we just throw in. And we liked it at the time. We didn't like it come release. We know a lot of other players really didn't like it. And we heard that, and we changed it. So essentially, we have removed the ranged attack speed slow that comes, and instead, melee creatures are 20% quicker, and melee weapons in PvP have a slow built in again, which previously they already had. We removed it when we did the range weapon slow, but now that is back. And basic creatures or melee creatures are 20% faster. So it kind of does the same effect without the player feeling slower when they're fighting. Canada's better than the USA. Thank you. Okay, I'm gonna scroll forward here. I'm just gonna scroll forward a couple minutes. So apologies if you ask questions in the last 7 minutes. You're gonna have to re-ask it, but I just want to get a little more caught up here. Will there be two servers, PvP and PvE, or just PvP? So the way that Ravendawn works is we have zones in the game that switch between PvP and non-PvP, as well as War, but essentially PvP and non-PvP. So you are able to already avoid PvP to a degree if you are wanting to. Actually, to a very easy degree. There's always, like almost always, 99% of the time, there is a zone your level that is not in PvP. So you can go there freely and not worry about getting killed. The death punishment, though, is far more minor in Ravendawn than it is in Albion or in Tibia. There is a death punishment, and we feel like that is an important part to an MMORPG in general, but it is a lot more minor than those games. But additionally, we do have a war channel, essentially, or a war mode channel, which is a channel that you can switch to at any time or switch back, and every zone is PvP, and there's no infamy gained. So the intention of that channel is for people that really do just want to PvP like crazy. How do you plan to handle PvP balance? I know it's a hard thing to tackle in games, but curious your strategy to tackle these. I feel some companies don't listen to the right feedback enough and just look at data or who screams the most on a forum about a weapon. Yeah, I mean, that's obviously very common. I think one of the bigger things is definitely like listening to good feedback. We're very quick to understand certain community members that provide good and thought out feedback versus ones that just like to scream into the void. And we're very good at like figuring out which ones are relevant and valuable. I think really what matters here is just caring about your game. I think if you have a studio built around people that are really passionate about their work and about the project they're working on, I think you get a much better result when it comes to stuff like this, because not only are they going to just like listen to the surface level, but they're in their own minds going to be going through the deeper levels and trying to really understand it, because oftentimes the problem is not really what the problem that people think it is. Sorry, that's like a little bit weird. Many times like an archetype can feel really strong, and people will say it's just this archetype, when really maybe it's actually like a certain archetype combination, or maybe it's just one ability in the archetype. I won't get too deep into this. I've had like an hour talk about this once before in a past live stream, because it is like an hour-long discussion. But I think it starts with caring about the game you make. I think that really is the difference. And hopefully we've shown how much we care about Ravendawn by the fact that pretty much 24/7 we are in the Discord just chatting on things, or on the forums reading posts. I don't think there's pretty much no forum posts that get done that we don't read. Let alone like whether it being like a senior staff or myself. Like during the Christmas break, most of my free time I was just spending reading forum posts and catching up on that. I think that's really where it all starts. That doesn't mean that balance is gonna be perfect, and that doesn't mean everything's perfect, because that's impossible. It's impossible to have perfect balance, mainly because like shifting meta games and stuff like that. But I do think that there are varying degrees of it, and I think the most important part is just being proactive, making changes when they're needed, and not waiting like if there's something that's really strong in the game, not waiting like 3 weeks to patch in a change to it, right? Being on top of that within a week, right? Something to understand as well is like sometimes changes can't just be done overnight, right? Just because something's strong doesn't mean we can have it nerfed the next day. Changes need time to be made. They need time to be tested for any bugs or issues. These things take a little time. But generally, I think there's a big difference between a slow-moving studio and a fast-moving studio. Sorry, I'm just scrolling through, guys. They do. Okay. So melee weapons apply at 20% slow in PvP. Yeah, we originally actually, I think it's 15%, not 20. I might be wrong on that, but because we've changed it a few times. But we had this in the game for years. This was something that was only removed in the open beta. It's a pretty low amount, and the truth is, it usually doesn't come big into play because there's other slow abilities in the game. So usually it actually isn't noticed that much, and it falls off really quick. It's essentially just made to be like a base way to kind of stay on top of ranged players because they move the same speed as you. In the end of the day, though, like there are enough slows in the game in PvP that it's the reason why there's people that have played for multiple betas and they didn't even notice it before, because it really isn't as big as you would think it is with how PvP combat already works. So. Wait, is this not the same Renee from our Discord? If so, you're asking all questions I know you know the answer to. I don't know if it is. I'm on streamer mode, so I can't search in Discord. The game will be eventually possible plan on Android. We have plans for a Ravendawn Lite version in the future that will be for mobile. That is currently not our focus. Our focus is purely on launch right now, but it's definitely something that we have in the future plans. I think the death penalty in Ravendawn is way too low. Yeah, to be clear, it scales aggressively as you level up. It is very, very low early game. Until like level 50 plus, it won't be that punishing, but you can ask any player who did get to those levels, and they said it started getting pretty punishing, and it continues to scale more and more aggressive from that. By the time you are in the late game, you will definitely not want to die. Do you belong to ARAM enjoyers, like in League? If so, absolutely not. I've always been like a purist with like competitive games in the sense that I never like mini games. I played StarCraft like 14 hours a day for a very long time, like a decade ago, to be clear, when it was in its heyday. And anytime I got invited to play custom games, I was like, no, absolutely not. Not that they're not fun. They are a ton of fun. And like nowadays I'll play custom games with friends and stuff. But definitely when I'm like into a certain game, I will only play the main game mode. Will there be a queue to enter the game? I mean, it depends how fast you log in. No, I mean, it's hard to say. Like, obviously, we're trying to set up a server infrastructure that will have very minimal queues, right? And in the end of the day, that's our goal. But it's so hard, guys, to guess the numbers that will be there on launch. You know what I mean? It is incredibly hard to do. So I don't think there'll be a video saved to Twitch, but there should be on YouTube, just so you guys know. Because for anyone who doesn't know, we are streaming right now on Twitch and YouTube. So I see the chat for both, but we are currently on both. Yeah, and guys, to be clear, when we talk about a global server, like we have a very different setup than, like, for example, anyone coming from Tibia has, or from World of Warcraft, right? We have a channel system in the game. So just because we say one server, keep in mind that each of our channels are like larger than a Tibia world by like quite a bit. If we're providing 20 channels, this is like equivalent to, geez, like 80 Tibia worlds. And so that's really important to understand, is when we say one server, this doesn't mean like we have support for like 1,000 people or something like that. So yeah, each channel essentially is a server. The difference is you're able to still play together. You don't have to decide to split into 60 different worlds. And we built Ravendawn since day one like that, because we think that's really important to a game. Yeah. For anyone who's played RuneScape, it's the same as RuneScape. Or I think Albion is the same as well. I think Albion Online is the same as well. I'm not wrong. How are you addressing botting and real world trading that usually comes with these communities? RuneScape struggles, and I feel like it is a good comparison to Ravendawn, with them being a bigger company and had years dealing with the struggle. What are you guys doing differently? I think, I mean, the truth is it can be really hard for these larger companies to make certain moves. I think like a few things that we have built in different that a lot of larger companies don't do is we have actual GMs. This is something that World of Warcraft abandoned, Tibia abandoned, a lot of games abandoned, because it is a cost, right? These are staff paid to work, and they are GMs, right? Because obviously you can't do volunteer GMs, just because you would never risk that as a company. But you know, we have paid GMs, which is one part of it. Obviously, I can't share the specific ways that we are able to track people using external software, but I can assure you it is to quite a high level. And we also have alternative plans as well. But this is one of those things that I obviously can't talk a lot about, because anyone who's preparing to run a bot, they will listen to this. And if I explain how the checks that we do and the measures we do, they will listen to that. But I assure you, this is something that obviously we're very aware of. And to be completely honest, I was probably one of the most active botters on Tibia for years. When I say most active, I mean like I was like anyone else. At the time, like 90% of people bought it, to be clear. And it was just kind of part of the game. But I did it to the maximum capacity. I was selling waypoint scripts on, was that Elf at the time? Doing like really nice packages and all that stuff. So we understand how big of a deal bots can be in games. And I also understand how much Tibia improved when they implemented some measures to actually deal with botting. So I understand the importance of dealing with botting and how much it can change a game. Yeah. And ultimately, I think a lot of it also just comes down to the punishment, right? In the end of the day, if a game will give you a 3-day ban for botting, they're kind of just asking for people to bot. But if a game is willing to just permaban somebody who's played for a year because they're caught botting, I think that sets a way larger deterrent, right? And I think that comes a lot down to it. And you also mentioned that like companies like RuneScape and World of Warcraft and what have you have a huge problem with it. You also have to remember that these games, they build their membership in a way that is either required. Wow, obviously not a lot of examples of that anymore. Or in a way that is almost necessary for botting. And that is a big reason that I think they are maybe a little more lenient at times on it. Obviously, that's like conspiracy level. And I'm not really here to like attack other developers like Jagex for that, because in the end of the day, like Jagex has a lot of really cool stuff as well. And they are not publicly held, but they have investors behind them, right? I don't think they're public, right? But they have certain expectations and certain requirements that we don't. And I think that allows us to be a little bit more aggressive on how we deal with things. Well, your game colleagues play the game simultaneously with the community. I believe it's crucial for developers to engage in their own game. Yeah, so I mean, absolutely. I mean, we like most of us were incredibly active playing the open beta, the closed beta. For launch, we obviously won't be playing because we are going to be way too busy. However, like our internal testers, they play the game. A couple of them stream the game. On the open beta, they were going hard. I totally agree that it's important to play your own game. And understand your game from a player point of view. And I think it doesn't happen enough, kind of going back to what I talked about with PvP balance, where I think it just comes down to a passion thing. If your staff are passionate about the game they're working on, they are in their free time are going to want to play the game, or at the end of their shit, they're going to want to play the game, right? Or they're going to want to watch streams about the game. I think that's what it really comes down to. So basically, you guys give the ranged their movement speed back and won't give gap players to melee weapons back. You understand we added additional gap closers to every melee archetype, right? Anyways, I understand that some people really like to be angry, but chill, okay? The exact same gap closers that we removed from melee weapons to give them actual melee weapon passives or actives, we implemented into archetypes. Yeah, and thank you, Real. He also missed the 20% slow. It's all good. It's all good. Some people, I totally get it. I think if I streamed like way more often, those would be just people that we would just ban. But geez, I think I've banned like 5 people ever, because usually I do these streams once every while, and so like my bandwidth is pretty high for people just being angry. But it does suck when that happens, especially when they're like super uninformed. But they want to get angry with the little they understand. Maybe it's your connection because I live in Japan and the beta servers were located in the US East, which are very smooth for me. Yeah, exactly. Like, I mean, there's so many people that are playing on like 200 ping from like Japan, for example, or Southeast Asia. Not that Japan is in Southeast Asia. It isn't, right? But yes, definitely not. And they've all like it, you know, there's going to be some people that say like, oh, I'm on 120 ping, but they're having like huge spikes because of like other reasons that we can't always troubleshoot. You know, we've had people that have been very upset about like having like rubber banding and stuff. And then the next day they like message us and like, oh, actually it was just my internet provider was dropping. Or like sometimes there's just like a routing issue. And you know, for some people, something like, oh geez, I'm forgetting all the providers now. I remember there's What the Fast, there's No Ping, stuff like that. Sometimes those are really good solutions for them. But this is usually a small minority. The party system going to be fixed, automatically sync to the channel with group content. So it already does. The issue though is it has like certain cooldowns in place to avoid abuse, right? 'Cause otherwise you could just abuse the channel swap system. And so what we've realized is the people that were saying that it wasn't working for them, it was because they were like doing it too early or there was some other reason. Like for example, when you just log in, you can't switch channels right away. And there's an obvious reason for that, to avoid people just relogging over and over until to switch channels, right? So there are certain limitations. We just don't have like a tooltip that explains that. And that really is what we have, but it is not broken. It's just there's certain limitations to avoid abuse. Would you comment on the reputation system? Is there possible changes possible in your vision? Yeah, we have some plans for it. There's obviously, it's obviously incredibly important right now. I think you're more asking on the difference between order, criminal, and mercenary. We plan to have a handful of things coming from them, but they will be more late game content. Some people are translating questions, so he might be asking another person's question. Yeah, that's true. That's true. Nender, is there any plans on changing the camera angle? So we are fully pixel art. These are not 3D models. These are top-down pixel arted models. So we can't just simply change the camera, unfortunately. We understand that some don't like the perspective, especially if they don't come from Ultima or Tibia. This is a perspective that we really like and a lot of people do really love. And that's why we built the game in this perspective. But we also understand that to some it's jarring, especially if they're not used to it. Virtually everybody that we've ever heard that had issues with it, they said within an hour they got completely used to it. But we absolutely understand that to some it's jarring. And unfortunately, if that is like keeps you from playing, that's a huge bummer. I really encourage you to at least try for a couple hours and see if you get used to it or maybe even love it. But we totally understand that it is different from conventional perspective for pixel art games. But we're also okay with being different, even though I know a lot of games are not. Oh, is Jukes in here? What up, Jukes? I mean, this was 12 minutes ago, so it might not be here anymore. Okay, I'm going to scroll down because a lot of these questions I've answered, but they were being re-asked. You did a beautiful game. Thank you. Appreciate that. Nick, later in the future, will there be raid or dungeon system implemented for more content down the road? We have lightly teased at this. I won't specify because people run off with certain ideas. Like if I say dungeons, suddenly everyone's going to run off like in a big war in the Discord between should we have instance content or not, and instance content will ruin Ravendawn and stuff. I've noticed this a lot, but also, holy shit, I have a million pings in the Discord. Sorry. sorry. I should open up my Discord. I need something else to fidget. Okay, I have another fidget. Oh, great question. About gear. This is something that a lot of people have been asking about, which is if you don't lose gear in PvP, how would you ensure that there's an economy going around gear? And how do you make sure that crafter professions are actually needed or worth leveling. So yeah, this is something that we've been working on for a while and something that we're pretty excited to share. We will have a nicer graphic for when we do the patch notes on this. But for a little teaser for all of you guys here today. So a couple things. Obviously, most of you guys know already that equipment can be used as infusions, right? It can be used to substitute infusions. And this can play a bigger role in certain parts of the game where you buy equipment to use it as infusions. However, we also wanted a very specific outlet for it. And so equipment, come launch, again, I'm going to lightly talk about it because I don't have notes in front of me and stuff on it, and we will have a much better breakdown on the patch notes. But equipment, come launch, will be able to be broken down into Dawn Essence. For anyone who's asking what Dawn Essence is, essentially we're essentially changing right now, like quests, level up, stuff like that, give you just like a Raven pack. We're essentially changing that to give you Dawn Essence, which is only used to buy Raven packs. So it's essentially the exact same thing. The only difference is that we can do like more fractional quantities, right? It was very frustrating when it's like, okay, we want to give a Raven pack here, but it's really hard to balance. We're giving a whole pack, right? So now we can give, for example, like half a pack equivalent of Dawn Essence. And that comes into the gear breakdown. Obviously before, well, we can't have every piece of gear break down into a Raven pack. And so essentially now, based on the tier of gear, it'll break down into Dawn Essence, which can be used to then buy Raven packs with. And so Dawn Essence will come from the exact same way Raven packs came from. So by leveling up, North Star quests, from supply bags, but it will be like more manageable amounts. So instead of like a 1% chance of getting a Raven pack from a certain supply bag, you will now have like a 10% chance to get a tenth that much Dawn Essence, if that makes sense. So it'll be a little bit more consistent and a little bit less RNG heavy. So yeah, essentially equipment that is unused, so non-soulbound equipment and non-infused equipment will be able to be broken down into Dawn Essence to buy Raven cards with. So essentially that is a massive outlet for equipment. So if you are a crafter, celebrate, because there will always be people wanting to buy your extra gear that you do not want. Dawn Essence will not be able to be traded or sold. So once you break down the equipment, that Dawn Essence is only on your character. Will this game have exclusive areas for premium? That is an area that only premium players can go to. No, currently we have no plans of that. Also, now I know, Reneg, I see you sent me a Discord message. I didn't read it, but I assume it's you mentioning that you are translating for other people. So apologies for assuming you were asking a question you already knew the answer to. I appreciate you translating for people and providing their questions. It was just really weird because I was like, this is a big or a really long question to answer, and you and I know you know the answer. So I was like, do I really have to respond to this whole question? But no, that makes a ton of sense. The chat system is somewhat complex compared to Tibia chat, which is always present. Yeah, we don't like having a chat always present. This is not super common in most games. We do agree that it is a little bit unorthodox with how you have to press enter to bring it up. This is quite common in a lot of MMORPGs, but I also understand it's not in Tibia because Tibia, the chat is always up. We just don't like that ourselves. And yeah, so. Oh, another thing that I want to mention. So I have a lot of notes to mention, and I haven't gotten to a single one. We've been streaming for an hour already. Something that I know people are crazy about. We have changed how credit for killing mobs works. Now, if you damage a mob, or you are within 10 tiles of a group member that damages a mob, you will get credit for a quest. This is obviously very different than it was before, but we ultimately just wanted to make questing a little bit more seamless for group parties and especially for healers. And so this is a change that I know was very much wanted, and it will make it a lot better. For bosses, it is within 6 seconds, so a little bit more time for bosses. But this is also us already pre-planning for the possibilities of world bosses. Right. So it was important that we got a change like this in already. Somebody asking about not being able to fight people that are in the same guild as you. and having like a dual system. We will work on a dual system. It is just not on our to-do list right now. Any leaks for guild content? Not. I can talk about a few things. Let me do that later. Can you ask that again in like 25 minutes or 20 minutes? So I can get through some more stuff, because that's, yeah. There was already, somebody's asking, will you change prices for the farm? And he's asking more about cotton. Cotton prices did change, and the duration changed. The reason why to share is cotton is used for tier 1 weaving. It's necessary. And the barrier to entry was way higher than all the other professions. So how long it takes to grow cotton and the price dropped a ton. And also, but then also the amount of cotton you get also obviously dropped equivalent to keep it balanced. But yeah, the barrier to entry will be much slower. It'll still be possibly a little bit higher, but we're okay with that. In the end of the day, it's okay if weavers are more unique and specialized, and especially later in the game, they will have a huge role. Spam me in 20, yeah, exactly. Okay, sorry, I missed so many questions. What will be the frequency of major updates, semi-annual? So it depends what you consider like a major update. I'm trying to think, like, I would love to share what our plans are, but I'm really scared that people are going to run off with it, as happens all the time. Like, one thing that I do got to like vent a little bit here that kind of frustrates me, and probably or definitely a big part of why I haven't done a live stream in a while, is there was a live stream that I talked for like 2 hours about monetization, like 2 years ago, and gave all of my input on monetization. And there was a section that got clipped. It was a 16-second clip. And if you click on the clip, you can watch before and after. And it was like 2 minutes of me being very clear, like, hey guys, we have no specific plans yet. We're just working through ideas. And I listed like 5 ideas that we were considering and 5 things that I didn't like so much. And people clipped 16 seconds perfectly to take one thing that I said. And it was super real. It was really, really fucking sad, because this was about a month ago that a few people came in. And to be fair, it was like 5 people that just kept remaking new accounts and joining the Discord and spamming them, but basically just spamming that clip over and over until other people started getting upset about it too. And unfortunately, that is the nature of live streaming. I understand that. And I think that is why a lot of studios don't do stuff like this, because there are really shitty people there. And they're many times able to convince people that they're correct with a certain clip. And that's really sad. And so that's why there's certain things that people are asking that I just don't feel comfortable answering, specifically because even if I preface it 87 times, people are just going to clip right after I give all that warning. And so it's just tough, like asking like, what is our plan to patch schedule? Like, I would love to answer this. And 3 months ago, I definitely would have. But now I know what I'll say is I'll say, hey guys, this is our plan. It very well might get missed at times. We can't always, sometimes problems come up, wrenches come into play, maybe new features come in, but this is what we're planning to do. And then someone will cut it from right after that. And then when we don't do that, they will spam that clip and say, oh my God, you promised. So unfortunately, there's just certain things that I just don't feel comfortable answering because I know how it gets clipped out of context. So. How about character speed? How does it upgrade? So like most traditional games, you don't get more character speed just from leveling up like you do in Tibia, but that is a very unique mechanic to Tibia. I don't think that exists in like any other game. However, there are certain trinkets that increase your speed. And I can't really share much more without spoiling some late game content, but there are definitely other ways to increase your speed. Keep your head up, you're doing great. It's not like a woe is me thing at all, to be clear. It is like strictly it's not fair to the rest of the team, right? It's not fair that I come on a live stream, I share something that maybe I shouldn't share yet, because it's still like work in progress. And then the whole game, not just me, but the whole project gets attacked because someone clipped it out of context, right? So it's definitely not a woe is me story at all. I'm an adult. I can handle it. And I've been around on the internet long enough for like a year and a half, I was a very active StarCraft streamer. And so I understand how it works. However, it's not fair to the rest of the team that I bring that baggage onto them, right? Because what happens is they actually get attacked as well, right? People tag Neos, they take Dharma, they take any staff they can find, and they start attacking them too. And that's not fair to them to deal with, right? So. Hey, great job with Ravendawn. I tried to find previous live streams by Passion Notes, and you say they were on your YouTube, but they've been removed. Is that accurate? Why did they get removed? For the exact reason I just mentioned. We just realized that people going back on like 3-year-old live streams saying like, hey, you guys said you would have this feature, but you don't. And it's like, well, yeah, like 3 years ago, we had like 1,000 people in the Discord, and we were like planning out features that we wanted. And I said like, yeah, this would be a cool feature to have. But like some like plans change, right? For anyone who doesn't know, Ravendawn up until like a year and a half ago, basic attacks and spells were not even animated. And we actually had no plans to animate them for launch. This was a huge undertaking. We dramatically scaled our art team to make this happen. But that was 100 times more work than a lot of like other features in the game would be. But we felt it was a really important feature, right? So sometimes certain features get pushed aside and other features take precedent, right? We didn't even have a sound system when we first developed the game. So yeah, sometimes development changes and you have to be fluid and flexible. And we just got tired of people going 3-year-old streams and clipping 8 seconds out of it to try to like make people angry. You know, it just wasn't worth it anymore. So I'll definitely leave this live stream up for like a week or so, but then I'll probably remove it as well. Again, if someone like sends the live stream, that's so different. Like sending the actual timestamp in a live stream, that's totally fine because most people are smart enough that they can listen longer or go back a little bit. But there are some people that when they get a clip, they just instantly assume everything there is gospel. And you know, it's people that are newer to the internet. And that's totally fine. But we just got tired of it. So will there be seasonal events in game? Yeah, very likely. We've done a Christmas event that will definitely come back this year. We didn't do it in open beta because we just had a million other things to focus on instead of doing events. But we love doing events. They're a ton of fun. We probably won't have an event we probably won't have like a Valentine's event, for example, because it's a month away. Maybe we will, but I can't say for sure because we're just gonna be so busy with launch. But we definitely will have tons. If you guys do a Raven coin, you'll knock out Tibia. Yeah. Any information about bungalows or mountain houses? Yeah, those will come in a post-launch patch. We already have plans for how they're going to work. Right now, again, it's kind of just focusing on the most important things for launch. Certain features we realize are just way more fun as like an update and a patch where, you know, people have their houses, etc. And now they're able to get like a bungalow, for example. We like that idea way more than having them in on launch. Yeah, this is a really important question. How to get house plot when all of them are taken? I'm reading it a little different just so it makes more sense in English. Will there be a way to get a large house when they are all taken? So essentially, we do want a finite open world land system to a degree. I've talked about this a lot in past streams, but as a lot of new people are probably here, I want to share that we are okay with the reality that not every single player has a finite piece of land. So by that, I mean like the open world land. We are okay with that because in the reality, the reality is it makes the land more valuable. It makes it more fun to have and it makes it more special. And so we are okay with not every single player having the best piece of land. And that is just the reality of it. However, we are also super aware that that gap can't be too big, right? And so that is why we originally added the community land, because originally we didn't have community land. So if you didn't get land, like you were screwed. Where now we have community land. So everybody can have some amount of land. It is obviously worse than the finite land in the open world. And we want that intentionally, right? Because obviously if it wasn't, there'd be no reason to have it. However, one thing I want to mention is we are working on some improvements to community land, and we are working on allowing community land to have a house as well. Again, to be clear, community land will always be somewhat worse than finite land, because we do want people to want to own open world land. However, we are working on ways to making sure that everyone gets that experience as well. This is not something that will be in for launch, but we already have plans on how we're going to do it, and we plan to introduce it soonish after launch, just so you guys know. So if you don't get land and you are only using community land, please don't be upset. We have like 4,000 plots of land. There's a lot of land in the game, and you will always be able to use community land. And if you don't get land, you can trust that we are working on something. You guys at Taverline have any internship program? We do, and we are able to do credit if you are in Brazil and Canada. Like for an actual like internship credit. If you're like in a university program and stuff, we are able to do that in Brazil and Canada. However, and even if you aren't looking for credit, if you just mean like, can I just like intern to like learn? We do that as well. However, I do need to be clear. We take in very, very few. Like right now, we don't have a single intern in the studio. We did take in 2 recently 6 months ago. And basically any intern we bring in with the intent to hire. So what I mean by that is a couple things. One, it means that the requirement for an intern is much higher. A lot of studios will bring in interns to like literally just go get people coffee and like do like crap work 24/7. And then after 6 months, they get rid of them. That is not how we bring in our interns. We bring them in to ideally evolve into positions. Usually we do 6 months. Most of them will always graduate less than that if they're going to. However, it does mean that we don't look for just an intern that will just grab coffee. We look for interns that already have a solid skill set that we just think it wouldn't find a spot in the studio and it wouldn't pass other candidates, but we feel like with time we can polish that into a gem. And we've done that. We've never had an intern that's joined the studio that did not get a full-time job within 6 months, because we don't like to just bring people in and string them along and then get rid of them, which is incredibly common in the game industry and very sad, in my opinion. I want to play with a steering wheel. Yeah, we don't have native steering wheel support, just so everyone knows. Will there be one more Warzone channel and launch to prevent too many people in one Warzone? Yeah, we can dynamically add channels and remove channels. Or, sorry, add channels, not remove channels. Remove channels we have to reboot for. But adding channels. So if the Warzone channel is packed, we will absolutely open another Warzone channel and so on and so on. Ravendawn and RavenQuest are separate projects, so they do not depend on each other for their success. Just so you guys, or just so you know. What are you going to leak about Reputation? I shared a little bit, but there's not any leaks on Reputation, unfortunately. Any plans to add hunts with more mobs to play with bigger parties like Tibia? Get to late game and check it out. Okay, give me 1 sec, Bell. By the way, is it just Bell or like Bella? Like Bella would have an A, right? I think it's just Bell, right? It's not Belly, right? Because I feel like I've said your name every which way, and it'd be. Well, you said you are correct. I don't know which one. Bell. I said it all 3 ways. You're not helping. Belly, yeah. Okay, Bell. I was pretty sure it was Bell. I just wanted to make sure that I wasn't saying it wrong this whole time. I'll get to your question in 2 secs here. I'm gonna rapid fire a few things. So one, guys, just so I'm like caught up on stuff. One, we have redone the guild channels, the guild recruiting channels in the Discord. If you go under the community tab, instead of there being like just a text channel that you have to spam your guild every day and crap like that, you can now click on it and it is set up like a forum. So you can upload your guild as a recruitment, and then people can actually talk within
your guild thread in there to like say, hey, I want to join your guild, or hey, can I know more? So if you are new and you want to like find a guild for launch or whatever, we just added this yesterday. So there's still not a lot of people have posted their guilds in there. I think there's like 15 in there right now. There will probably be 10 times that before launch. If you are looking for a guild, go in there and look around and chat with some people. If you are looking to recruit people for a possible guild for launch, feel free to make a post and to explain why your guild is the best guild. Yeah, much cleaner, much better system. Proud of our CMs for making that. Okay, this is done. This is done. Another thing that has been heavily requested, we have added click to move into the game. So you will now be able to click on your screen to move to places like you can in Albion, Tibia, or RuneScape. This is optional. You can turn it off if you do not like it, but you can now click to move. Another change, the battle list is now resizable, width and height. So, and on the fly, you don't need to do edit UI. So if you are in the middle of a fight and shit's getting crazy, you can just easily drag it down and make it bigger. Another thing, your guildies will now have green colored nameplates. This was a big concern during like guild wars and stuff, was that it was quite hard to see people not in your party and who was like true enemy and who was your allies. Now all guildies will be green colored nameplates. I need you guys to understand, this is probably the biggest sacrifice our team has ever made for you guys, because previously our GM colors were green. We gave up our green color for you guys. Okay. Don't say we didn't do anything for you. The next thing, some people already noticed it because I had to drag and drop it onto my screen. I'm going to share a screenshot here. Let me know in chat if you see the hype feature that everyone is going to cry about and has been screaming about for 2 years. In this screenshot, I just asked a random person to grab, or one of our people on the test server just to grab a screenshot. Top right and under nameplates. What do you guys see? Wow, buffs and debuff timers and icons for them. Yeah. So I know everyone has really, really wanted this for quite some time. Wow. Amazing. 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 Okay. That's another thing. Gear breakdown we talked about. Okay. Last thing. Last hype thing, and then we'll answer Bell's question. We currently in the game, we have, I think 5 different rooms. 5 different rooms. We have a handful of different rooms that you can use to customize your house. So not just visually, but as you guys know, these give you crafting bonuses, right? So if you're a crafter, having a house is incredibly important, right? And having and then customizing those rooms to your crafting is very important. And tiering up your house allows you to get stronger rooms and more rooms and blah, blah, blah. One thing that we understand that was very much missed here is if you're not a crafter, these rooms don't matter a ton, and other than the bedroom, and they're almost not even worth having. We are adding 5 more rooms into the game. I am 99% sure that these will be in on launch, but there is a slight chance they won't be. If they're not, they would come very soon after launch, okay? But there is a very strong chance that they're in for launch. Again, 99%. There's a chance they won't be. Okay, we got a lot of stuff we're working on. But there will be 5 new rooms, and these will be attribute rooms. So we will have an armory room. We will have a weapon room. We will have a ritual room, an arcana room, and a thieves room. And these will be for those who do not care about crafting. To be clear, these bonuses are meant to be slightly worse than the crafting bonuses because not everybody is a crafter, but everyone is a player. Or, you know what I mean? 99% are going to actively do combat of some sort, whether PvP or PvE. So they are a little bit weaker than the crafting rooms. But for those who are not crafters, you can celebrate because now you have a purpose to doing rooms. And they look pretty sick. I'm going to be honest. Or they look really sick. They're really cool designs. So I think you guys are going to really love them. Okay, that covers most of the teasers. Now we go into Bell's question. Bell, can you send it again? Sorry. There's been a million hogs and stuff because I just talked about a lot of things people like. So will there be any bonus to playing in a group like there is in Tibia? So I think you're asking about like just a flat EXP bonus. We do not want to have that right now. However, we just mentioned a huge bonus, which is that quest credit is now more evenly shared with a group. Also, there is already, as you get to later in the game, groups become more and more necessary. We've designed Ravendawn around the idea that we never want groups to feel like you kind of have to be in a group, because I don't think that's a good mechanic for an MMO. Some people want to play an MMO alone. They just want to be with other players, but they don't want to rely on other players to play the game, which I think is super fair. But we also understand that some people want to play in a group, and it sucks if playing in a group is worse than playing solo, because then you don't want to play with your friends anymore. And so we strongly believe that giving a small advantage playing in a group, a very small advantage, is worth doing. And we feel we currently have that. But we do feel like as soon as we add EXP bonuses as well to being in a group, it'll get even harder. It is something that, to be clear, about a month ago, we were considering it. We were considering having an EXP bonus. But that was before we decided to make the quest credit shared. And so that was essentially the compromise that we came up with that we liked more, because we felt it was like more of a frustrating experience, right? So ever going to be a party finder like WoW? Definitely, possibly. Right now, though, global chats are great for that. We understand that in open beta, one problem with the global chat is every language, doesn't matter where you're from, you are put into the same English global chat, and it wasn't very obvious to change it. And so, but now, based on the language you select, you will get auto put into your global chat. You can use other global chats still, but you will be in that global chat by default. So new people won't just immediately start asking questions in Portuguese in the English chat. Okay, Bell. Any links or guild content? Confirmed numbers allowed, costs associated, what strongholds look like. I won't mention confirmed numbers and costs associated because we're still working through a few things on that. However, strongholds will not be in for launch, and the primary guild content, which is forts and guild wars, will not be in for launch, but they will be in the first major patch after launch. We have a roadmap that we'll be dropping probably next week, and this will share kind of a rough schedule of when this content will come out. And when I say first major patch, I don't mean like first like semi-annual 6 months down the road. I mean like first solid patch that aren't like bug fixes and like balance and stuff like that. And that will be the bulk of guild content. And the reason why is because most of the major guild content is more for like later in the game, and we don't like having it in for launch has no purpose. And also we don't want to introduce it when like most people are like level 40 or 50. Or sorry, only some people are level 40 or 50. We want to do it when most people are 40 or 50, because a lot of the guild content will be more endgame focused. But we have a lot of guild content planned and some really cool guild content planned. Don't get me wrong. If you're not wanting to be in a guild, guys, we are planning to have like a mercenary system as well. So if you just don't like to play in guilds, you don't want to be a part of one, don't worry. You will still be able to be involved in this type of content. And you will act as a mercenary. And yeah, the guild wars will be essentially used to fight over the forts, and strongholds will essentially be a bidding system. So any guild, if they have the silver, they can try and get a stronghold by bidding for it. And then every month it goes into a rebid. And then the guild wars are essentially wars will fight over an objective-based map. I'm someone who played a lot of RPGs, and I played with the same group of friends RPGs for a very long time. I love RPGs from WoW, if anyone's played them. I say RPGs, BGs are the exact same, but I like the feeling of RPGs where you're coordinated with a group. And we have taken large inspiration from a certain battleground in World of Warcraft to build a guild war map. And it will require coordination, a lot of strategy, and just good gameplay. And that is how guilds will fight over the forts in the game world. How many people for GVGs? I won't share that number yet. You're the same person that's asked it in Discord, and I told you the same thing. The reason why is because right now we are not 100% sure. We have a number that we like right now, but I'm not going to share it because we're going to run off with it. And then in 3 months, or not 3 months, less than that, when we introduce it, and if it's a different number, people are going to be, oh my God, I built my entire guild around this number. How would you do? We're not doing that. I can tell you it'll be more than 1 and it'll be less than 100. Netta, can you explain a little bit more about the rooms? I'm a crafter. I'll be weaker in PvP than someone who has a status room. No, you won't be. I mean, if you make all of your rooms into crafting rooms, but keep in mind that you can have multiple rooms, and generally, if you're specialized in one craft, you only need one room for that craft. So yeah. Mick Rammer, I just talked about Battle List. We've added a few functionalities to it, but I just talked about it literally like 4 minutes ago, so I'm not gonna go into it again. Any chance to have option to set keybinds to like party members heal? I think we already do. I think it's like Shift Tab or something like that. But you mean like specific keybinds, like party member 1, 2, 3, 4? I don't think we have that yet, but we would probably add support for it with time. Yeah. Oh, I have another teaser that I can drop. That's pretty hype. We have an official wiki coming out pretty soon here, guys. We've seen like 20 plus wikis and databases be made over the last couple months. And while we love seeing the community doing that and involved in that, and we appreciate that, one thing we've noticed is all of them are really cool and interesting and have some cool features, but they almost all are like lacking a lot of stuff. And that is because everyone kind of wants to start their own right now, right? No one wants to be a part of one. Or I shouldn't say that. Most people are starting their own right now. It's really not that they don't want to be a part of one. But we decided that we should make an official wiki, one that we can endorse on the website and that we can make sure is secure and we can make sure is safe. Because other wikis, we have no way to ensure that their wiki is safe and that you won't get hacked or something. We have no way to ensure that. And so we can't officially endorse one. However, we have our own coming out. I don't have a date on when it's coming out. We're hoping to get it up before launch, guys. And it will also have an official builder. And to be clear, that is thanks to Ravendawn DB. He is helping build the builder for the wiki. And it'll essentially behave similarly. And you will be able to pre-do builds. And this wiki will also be like API driven. So when we balance spells in the game, the wiki will have the balance spells right away. So if you guys are like, you know, we put a patch notes up, you guys are wanting to plan out some builds, you'll be able to do so right away. Nader, I've been asking about the last stream you did. Where's the female greatsword outfit? Girls want to be badasses too. Yeah, so the greatsword outfit won't be in on launch. We're working right now on the additional cosmetics for it. And then with that, we will also work on like female versions, of course, too. It just takes time. We have a lot of stuff that we're working on the art side for release. Oh, I could also talk about third hit mechanics, but I'm not going to. I'm going to save a couple things for the patch notes, so you guys have something to look forward to. Tier 1 spells are going to be a lot more satisfying to use come launch. That's also exciting. Do you have fear that the mercenary system will kill the guild system if it will be more beneficial? Yeah, I mean, of course it won't be more beneficial. We just want to make sure that they have a way to partake as well. Obviously, we're aware that like adding a mercenary system, if it's better than a guild system, there's no point in having a guild system. So yeah. It's the exact same philosophy as how we approach land with community land. It's the exact same idea, right? We agree that everyone should be able to partake, but we also agree that it's okay to have something that's a little bit more exclusive, right? I think that's totally fine. Is there a set date to take support packs off the shelves in case some are contemplating upgrading their support pack? I can tell you this. They will absolutely be gone before the 16th. For release. They will be gone before that. about server location, how the proxies work. I talked about that for about 5 minutes, if not longer, early in this stream. So just rewatch the stream, and I talk quite a bit about it. Will the Ravendawn API be publicly available for developers to create websites or add-ons? We're not 100% sure yet. It wouldn't be probably public, but it probably would be like by request. So we'd have to understand what it's being used for, how it's being used, like most do with their API, and then we would allow certain people to use it. Would be able to have a feature to switch to medium house before selling small houses. I think that's already how it works. I think when you go to claim the medium, it'll ask you to demolish your small house. You don't have to like go to your small house first. I don't think, but you might have to. Certain things like that, like their quality of life, and they're great, and we want to like obviously add as many as possible. Our quality of life list is like 500 things, though, right? We have so many things that we want to improve and add in, and yeah, only so much time in the day. Yeah, you said in the Discord that aggro had been fixed up in the last beta. Can you detail how at all? Yeah, I mean, the biggest thing was people mentioning that even when they weren't in combat, or if they were on like another screen running by, the mobs would switch to them. That doesn't occur anymore. Obviously, the aggro system, like there's ways that we want to improve it, but that is a massive undertaking, and it's very important to do right. A bad aggro system, like, and trust me, there can be an aggro system and a bad aggro system that can completely ruin the game. Where like, well, by that I mean like it can be like easily abused, right? Where you can like make a monster glitch or different things. These are systems that take a lot of time to make really well and take a lot of time to test. We already have ideas on how we would do it, but these are things that likely will come down the road. NA servers are based in East Coast US. They are on the like southeast part of the US. Why doesn't two-hand weapons have double stats? They do. How will the Moa raffle happen? Yeah, so we plan to have it on the 10th, I believe, is the date. Hopefully I didn't get that wrong. Originally, we planned to just literally just database raffle it. So we literally just have a storage in the database, and we would just have it randomly pick a certain account based on how many entries they have. That is by far the easiest way. We might do something more fun out of it. It really just comes down to the time we have, guys. This is like 10 MOA skins. We have like so many things on the go. So like preparing a fun event for it and like making it all look nice and special. These things take a lot of work, right? And so we do want to do something like that, and hopefully we will if we can get time to it. But we're not 100% sure if we will. Otherwise, it'll just be raffled off through the database, and you'll just have to check to see if you won it. Or we'll probably announce who the winners were, but that would be a million times the easiest. So. I wish you all the best, and I hope your community or the community doesn't become toxic like the one in Tibia in 2008. Oh, you haven't played a lot of MMORPGs. Kidding. There's always going to be toxic elements of any community. Even like some of the best communities, like when it's an online game, it's almost impossible to find anyone who doesn't make a joke about the online game community that they're involved in being toxic. There's just toxic people. And the problem is, for every one toxic person, it drowns out 100 non-toxic people. We've seen this with our Discord. There are, at times, like 10 people that will just spam the same complaint about random shit. And they will be so loud and so vocal, and you ban them, and they will make a new account, start screaming again. These people exist, and it is possible. We have over 33,000 people in our Discord now. Come launch, it's going to be even higher than that. There are going to be people that scream and cry, and even if you ban them, they will make a new account and they'll come right back in, go through all the work, the verification. They will do all of it because they like to be heard. This is okay. This exists, though. I think the important part to always remember is in most communities, for every one really toxic person, there's 99 other people that are having a blast playing and not saying a word. And they're just in the Discord with their friends having a good time. That is just the reality of online games. But unfortunately, that 1% is usually very vocal and very active. And I think that's just important to remember. And there are more toxic communities in certain games, and there's less toxic communities in other games. Final Fantasy 14 is an example. It's overall good, but there's still a lot of toxicity. Yeah, exactly. Like Final Fantasy 14 is probably like the least toxic MMO of all time, but you still will find very toxic people. It's just the way it is. And I think you can strive for a less toxic community, and we absolutely do that with our Discord rules. For anyone who doesn't know, our Discord rules are very clear. It is not a right to be in our Discord. It's a privilege. And as stupid as that sounds to say, and I hate saying it because it sounds like something my parents would say to me, we have that rule for a reason. Because if someone is in the Discord screaming and crying and just never taking a response and just, like we can respond to them calmly and they still cry and scream, we just remove them. And we're going to be doing this way more come launch. I assure you of that. And the reason why is because we will have a lot of new people just come in and think it's like any other game's Discord and just start screaming. And in a lot of Discords, it's tolerated until a point that a month later, the Discord is just super toxic and no one wants to be in it. I've seen it in our Discord of people where someone is like very calmly answering them and they're like getting attacked. And it's like, dog, this is just like a random community player trying to help you with your question. Just because you don't like their answer doesn't mean you should start attacking them for it. So we'll just be removing them. You're right, to be honest, it needs to be welcome for new players. Exactly. So that's the most important part, right? We never want our Discord to be a place where, and it definitely isn't right now, but we never want to be a place where people like come in, it's like, hey, like, and they ask a stupid question or whatever, right? And 6 people attack them and call them idiots and stuff like that. And that does happen in a lot of MMO and a lot of online game Discords. And we never want to be a place like that. And if that means that when someone responds that way or acts that way, or, we do a patch notes and we nerf a certain wizardry spell and they scream and cry because they have a good Raven card for that, whatever, we're just going to remove those people because we don't need them in the Discord. They can go cry on wherever they want, anywhere else. They don't need to be in our Discord. Because the other thing too is a big reason why developers don't ban by IP. Well, yeah, you can change your IP. A lot of sorry, that sounded really mean. I was more laughing because we've done that and it obviously doesn't do much. I'm not laughing at your point. Oh shoot, where was I? I don't remember where I was. I don't remember where I was. I was somewhere. Neither. The changes to Lightblade damage formula was one of the best we've ever seen. Things I've ever seen. Will the other weapons get the same treatment? No. There will be weapons that get that treatment because we will have new weapons come out in the future. However, that felt very fitting to Lightblade, and we don't want to just do that to all weapons. But we did want to give a melee weapon for casters too. Hardware bans for the hecklers. I wish we could do that in Discord. That'd be really nice. And don't get me wrong, like it is some effort to like make another account and rejoin our Discord because we do have certain verifications they have to do. If it's like a new account and stuff like that. So it's not like super simple. So that's why it's always surprising. Like we had one guy that went through so much effort when we announced Patron. Holy shit. He went through so much effort to just keep making accounts. It's like, it's there. Like some people are very, very interesting. We definitely, there definitely will be new weapon types in the future. I don't believe room buffs can be shared with anybody invited to the house. So nevertheless, if a player doesn't agree with a bad note, you guys kick them out, but there was crying over the range speed and you guys go back. Kind of hypocrite. Hold on. Okay. This is definitely worth responding to because I think this is like a good learning moment. There is a huge difference between being toxic and saying there's something that you don't agree with or don't like. There is a massive difference to that. I think I made that super clear with examples saying that, people complaining about something And then we calmly come in and explain our reasoning and chat with them, which is something that a lot of developers don't do. And then they go and start attacking people. That is very different than someone disagreeing with a change. Yeah, that's essentially what you said. I hope you understand the difference between that. Because as you just mentioned, we don't ban people who disagree with changes. There was a lot of people that disagreed with the range thing, and we made changes because of it. So yeah, I hope you understand the difference. Yeah, and there's people that also use constructive criticism as a veil as well to be toxic, right? There are people, we've seen it so much, and it actually triggers me more than just being toxic. Just be straight up toxic if you're going to. But people who like will say something that's really slighted and really mean, like one guy said, like, do any of the developers even play their own game here? This sucks. They commented on something certain, right? And like that is not, and then we like called it out, and they're like, what? I'm just like giving criticism. Like, can you not take criticism? Obviously they're not trying to be, they're trying to be mean and take us down, right? That's very different than like, hey, I'm not really a huge fan of this change. Are you guys considering changing it, right? And I can tell you also, people who like cry and are really loud and really vocal, we pretty much just ignore them. Most of them we just mute, to be honest, like mute internally, like our own team. We will send it in our own team channels where it's like, guys, everyone should just mute this guy. He's super annoying. And we just mute them, and they can just cry and talk until they get banned, right? And this is super common. We do this because some people, we can tell they're just not actually trying to help. They just want to get angry. And we will see this, on launch, right? We will have, I don't know, we'll nerf a certain ability, and we know people are going to come in the Discord and cry. We will add a new thing of content. People are going to cry about it because they want this type of content. It's just the nature of our work, and you know, we're prepared for it. We're strapped in for it. But yeah, I think it's something that we always remind ourselves. You know, we can see Discord analytics. We can see how many people are in the Discord, checking announcements, reading the chat, and we can see how many people chat, right? And it is like 1% that actually type messages versus are active in the Discord to some degree. Same with kind of Twitch, same with a lot of platforms, same with Twitter, right? And then in the end of the day, it's 1% of that 1% that are usually toxic. Yeah, no worries. Dang it, am I muted? I don't know. I to be honest, like it takes a lot for me to mute somebody, but I always tell the developers, I'm like, guys, if you're getting annoyed, just mute them. Because I never want a situation where our developers are too scared to go in the Discord because they just don't want to like have their face in there and everyone just attacks them. That's not fair. And that's how a lot of developers feel in a lot of game studios. They don't even want to engage with the community. They just know as soon as they do, they get attacked. And so I always encourage them. If somebody's being annoying, just mute them. Just don't read their shit. 99% I'm muted. Okay, at least you're honest about it. We do have plans for a guild bank system. Yes, not for launch. We love the devs. Yeah, again, this is not a woe is us story. We get so much positive support from so many people, and it means a lot to us. Yeah, there is. Yeah, please understand that. And again, we very much understand the 1% thing. We know 90% of people that aren't talking they're just playing. They're just having a good time. They're in Discords with their friends. You know, they're like, yeah. I find Patreon has very little benefits. Will it be improved? No, we're pretty happy with the Patreon system we have right now. It's like it's a constant back and forth. Half people are like, oh my God, it has, I don't know, something. It has this. We don't like this. And then the other half are like, it's not good enough. We're not going to buy it. We understand that. And we feel like we found a good middle ground right now. But yeah, we'll see. Like in the end of the day, we understand that it is nothing compared to most games memberships. We understand that, right? We understand like it's not like Albion where you get 50% more experience. It's not like Tibia or RuneScape where 99% of the game is locked behind it and you kind of have to get it. We understand we understand that. I don't like battle passes very much, so we probably will never do a battle pass. I'm not a huge fan of battle passes. Are you muted? I don't, not by me. Again, this is like individual on the dev, right? If a certain dev is just like, this guy, I don't like being in the Discord when I see his stuff because like you probably attacked him at some point. then you'd be muted. To be clear, this is like not like this would be like you're being a shit. Like you're being a shitty person. It's like the same idea as if you were like, if you walked into a store and you're really shitty to a person and they could mute you, would they? It's like, did you say stuff like that to a person? It's funny how when someone's behind a screen, suddenly they're okay with saying whatever, but they would never say that in person. Or maybe they would. And if they would, those people are probably banned. But a lot of people are willing to say like really mean and hurtful stuff to developers or staff when they're behind a screen, right? And they would never do that if they went to like a grocery store and did it. But if you were saying stuff like that in a grocery store, the person would probably be like, oh, fuck you. Then yeah, you probably got muted. Oh, pro tip. If you're muted, you can't put an emoji on that person's message. There you go. There's the pro tip. Guys, I'm going to be right back. 2 minutes. I'm going to grab a drink. I'm going to go bathroom, and then we're going to keep going because I'm having a good time. And I think you guys are all having a good time. There's still a million questions I want to answer, and my throat hasn't gone yet. By throat, I mean voice. But yeah. Cool. I'll be right back in 2 minutes, guys. 2 minutes. We'll play some tunes while I'm gone. Actually, what's a good song? Wait, do you get like banned for playing music, like YouTube music? I think only if you're like a big streamer, right? Like it's not like if you're just like, what's a song that I should play? Hold on, let me go. I'm gonna try and avoid like copyright strikes. Will they do you is it automatic? Oh, I'll get copyright strike. Okay. Really? I thought it's just. Oh, because of YouTube will. Yeah, true. YouTube will copyright strike it like immediately. I played a little bit of a song earlier. Just don't do it. Yeah, you're right. Okay, Ravendawn music it is. Enjoy. I'll be back. 2 minutes, guys. All right, we're back. Back. Okay. Next question. Next question. How do you intend to help game streamers with their live streams? For example, plugins for Twitch. Yeah, so there's some stuff that we're working on. There's also something really cool that Lebosi's team has worked on for live streamers. Sorry if that's a spoiler, Lebosi. I won't share what it is. But unfortunately, he has to wait on our team to add certain support for it, which we won't be able to do until like after launch. But there's some cool things like that. Additionally, we do have a featured or official content creator program. It helps streamers in a ton of ways, between drops, having official status on our website, but then also we will have a featured streamer, rotating featured streamers on our wiki as well. So thanks, Dharma, for linking the creator program. Brazil dominates chat in the game. So to be clear, it was like 90% Brazilian audience. Recently, it has shifted enormously. The English community and the European community kind of go hand in hand. A lot of Europeans will generally speak English. Has grown a shit ton and skyrocketed. It is outpacing the growth of the Portuguese community by a lot right now. And this will probably continue as we continue to run more ads for North America and Europe. So yeah. How do you become a content creator for Ravendawn? You go to the link that Dharma sent above, or you go to Ravendawn Online and you go to the content creator dropdown. We do have certain requirements, but yeah. Will there be any type of colorblind support? So this is something that we dug into. This is something that I didn't know, but there are a lot of types of color blindness, and they all require different support. And right now, we just don't have the ability to add support for all of them. We definitely want to, and we definitely plan to in the future. We've already done it with a few things. If you haven't noticed, certain UI elements, we've added like icons to them and stuff to help with colorblind people. But adding support for every type of color blindness is very difficult and a ton of work. But we are trying to add more and more support to it with time. Yeah. I don't like to pull like the indie studio card too much, because we are a larger indie studio. Like, we're not like 6 people. But we are absolutely an indie studio still, and certain things become really tough, right? Like people wanting the game to be localized in every single language, stuff like that. It's very difficult for us to do. Not one day, right? But up to this point, it's been difficult for us to do. Like our goal essentially is with launch that our team will grow a lot and allow us to do much bigger things with Ravendawn. So. Scrolling up a bit, read questions. I want to customize the keyboard when? We will have more customization options coming soon. We do not have plans to localize the game in Spanish currently. If the next language that we will localize in is Polish. Hey, I love Neos. Where can I find people like him to hire? You can't. There's only one Neos. Is this like a modern Tibia? When people ask us this, we just say yes, because in many ways it is, but in many ways it's not. A lot of people, when they play for like an hour coming from Tibia, they're like, you know what? I really love the game, but I definitely expected something different. I I just encourage you to try it, see if you like it. The game mechanics and game design are incredibly different. However, our perspective is the same, and we are a tile-based game, so there are some familiarities. Do patron cosmetics expire with patron? If you've unlocked them, you will not lose them, but you will not be able to use them if you're not patron. But you will not lose the cosmetics. Are we getting a mobile version soon? We are. It won't be soon. What about the political system mentioned in the past? Is it still going to be implemented? It absolutely will. But it is a very large system and one that we did not feel was required for launch. And we knew we could save like a month of time by not having that in for launch and instead looking to launch and then adding that feature in the future. I think the game is way more like Arcade than Tibia at its core gameplay. Exactly. It absolutely is. The reason why I answer that way is because he's clearly probably coming from Tibia, right? I would say, or I know this because MMORPG sites that have like done reviews and played Ravendawn, they will almost always attribute us more to Arcade than Tibia. Hey Diego, the servers are in Southeast US, however, we do have a global proxy system. So if you are from South America or Europe, you will connect via a proxy very likely to lower your ping. I talk a lot more in depth about this earlier in the live stream. So if you want to watch the VOD, it's like in the first 15 minutes, and I talk about it for like 5+ minutes, going into great detail about how it works. Could we have anything like a skill, skin, or weapon that differentiates between the classes? So, for example, something you can only use as a lord or a sage, but not as a lore master. We will not do this. This has been asked a billion times over the years. We right now have 56 class combinations. If we add one more archetype, I think that number goes to like 90. If we add another archetype, I think it goes to like 100 and something. Obviously, we will not. We can't do that, right? Because if we want to add more archetypes in the future, which we do, and we already have actually plans on what future archetypes will be, this will mean that every time we add one, we have to add like 60 new skills that all have to be balanced, let alone the archetype itself, or like 60 new skins or weapons. Like this is it's not feasible, right? It's not possible. Will diagonal animations still be 50% slower? They are not 50% slower. They are, I think, like 20% slower. It is definitely not 50%. It used to be 50% slower, and it is in a game like Tibia, but we don't like that. You can see just watching the screen right now that moving diagonal is definitely not 50% slower. I think it's actually 15%, but. Carmelo, you can see our monetization on our website. So you can go Ravendawn online and click the shop tab. We have a patron system and some cosmetics, which is essentially like a membership or premium system in other games. Can we have a date for the ultimate skills? That will be on our launch roadmap that we will tease next week. Maybe a specific add-on on the skin. Yeah, but you got to remember, if we have 16 outfits and 30 outfits in the future, that's 30 add-ons for every class, which is like 30 times 60, which is like 1,800 add-ons. Yeah. Cosmetics are already online. You can already see them on our website. We have supporter packs and we have cosmetic add-on packs. There is one, or are you asking like outfit cosmetics? I'm going to answer this guy's question first. See if he clarifies. I'm just going to assuming you're asking about if we will sell player cosmetics, like new weapons and stuff like that. Right now, we don't have plans to. I really like a system where the outfit is obtained by in-game gameplay and feats that you achieve in-game. That's not to say we we won't ever. Maybe one day we will. Right now, we don't have plans to though. And like we don't have any working product, nothing for that. Right now, we really like the system of players unlocking these through gameplay. We will sell, we have MOA skins and ship skins and wagon skins, and I'm okay with that. And I think those are good ways. But I think your player outfit is like a special thing that you can kind of brag about. I've talked about this before, but my favorite time playing Tibia was in 7.8 or 8. No, I think it was 7.8 when they added add-ons originally. And I loved that system. I thought it was so fun. And I remember just seeing like the few people that had the warrior spike and stuff like that. It was I think that's a special thing. And I don't like that it's not in games. People all the time talk about how monetizing cosmetics is so good and stuff like that. And how that's like to me, I honestly, it's the thing I hate most in games. I would way rather play a pay-to-win MMO, which I have played a lot of Arcade and BDO, as someone who never spent any money, never spent $1, other than, or I did spend some, but like the bare minimum, never like whaled out or anything like that. It was always like inventory expander, stuff like that. I would way rather that than being able to buy cosmetics. I hated that. And to be clear, I hated that in BDO. They just happened to monetize other stuff too. But I always hated being able to buy cosmetics in games. And to me, it ruined the character progress more than anything. We have a different death penalty than Tibia. It's not as intense. It's like kind of on par to blessings. So if you're like fully blessed, it's kind of similar idea. Nighter, why does only the light blade have a shiny add-on? Will there be other weapons too? Because that's kind of how we see light blades as a cosmetic. We see them as kind of like a slightly magical weapon, I guess. And that is why we allow them to scale off magic power as well, or spell power as well. And that is why the cosmetic has a slight shine to it. Will we see that on other weapons in the future? Possibly. Raven cards we traded in the future? Not currently. Maybe in the future, but not too sure on that. Okay, this has been asked a ton. Will you guys implement a way for free-to-play players to also get Patreon? Like Arcade had a coin that people can free-to-play get on the market. This is something that, like guys, this gets mentioned 50 times a day to us, whether it is people asking us like on socials, DMs, emailing us on it, asking in Discords. We understand this is like a huge conversation thing right now. I've had so many conversations with testers, with staff, with the community. I had like a huge conversation last night or this morning about it. We understand this is super present in most MMORPGs nowadays, right? Like Albion, Tibia, RuneScape, WoW, ESO, BDO, they all have it, right? We have not made a decision yet if we will allow this or not. I can say for launch, we don't have plans for it. That is what I will say. We understand that while some people don't like it, we also understand that for some, it's like a non-option, right? We understand like we can't service certain countries in the world. There's certain countries like Russia is one of the very well understood ones, but there's other countries in the world. There's like a list of like 16 countries that we cannot allow them to buy stuff on our shop. And the reason why is because there's global sanctions, right? We literally cannot let them buy Patron from us for dollars. And so what this sadly means for those players in those countries is that they just will never be able to get Patron. And I understand for a lot of people that is a deal breaker. They are playing a game that doesn't matter how much they play, they can never get what other people are swiping a credit card for. We understand that is a very frustrating experience. And that is why we know many of them are asking for a way that they can get coins in game to get their Patron. And we understand that is why a lot of games have added it. It's not just obviously for people in sanctioned countries. It's also for people that literally just have no spending money. Like maybe they're students, so they have a lot of free time. They can't get a job or for whatever reason. And to be clear, there are certain programs where you actually aren't allowed to even get a job. But they have time to play. And they're like, well, can I not just grind it to get it myself? We understand there's a lot of people like this. It is not a small minority. It is like a huge chunk of people. But right now, for launch, we don't plan to have that, but we do understand that it's very much wanted. And it's something that we're talking about constantly as a team, that if we were to do it, how would we do it in a really good way? That is not something that would have a bad rabbit hole. And many people in here have mentioned, because people have been going back and forth and in our Discord, that, okay, well, if you did something like that, just please make sure to have like a weekly limit and stuff like that. And we would obviously do something like that. Because in the end of the day, there's a lot of pros to that system. And there's a reason why so many games now, like all of the big MMOs, have adopted systems like that. And it is not just for the developers to make money. There are a handful of reasons. Going really quickly through them without boring everyone to death. I'll save the biggest one for last, but I mentioned too there, people that are in sanctioned countries that literally can't buy it. People are in countries that don't have a payment processor for them, because we can't work with 50 payment processors. It's just not possible. We have agreements with like, I think 6 right now, and that is like already a lot for us to manage. And so there's people in countries like Polish people right now are saying, hey, we need a payment processing option. And we're working on that really hard, but there's more niche countries. Then there's people that just simply don't have the money, or they just maybe don't even have a credit card. There's people that just don't have credit cards. In some countries, it's not as easy to get a credit card as others. And so we understand all those things. But the biggest one, well, and 2 more big ones, I guess. Another big one is if someone comes from Tibia and they have premium on Tibia because they buy it with gold they farm in game, they come over to Ravendawn and they love it, but they realize that they cannot buy it in game. They are very likely to just go back to Tibia where they can do it, right? But then the biggest one, guys, is RMT. While we have a lot of systems in place to deal with RMT, even the biggest companies in the world that are worth billions of dollars cannot fully stop RMT. It is a constant cat and mouse game. You do your best and you try and make it as difficult as possible for them, but it is virtually impossible to stop. We do a lot of things, again, on our end, way more than I think most studios do to deal with it. But it is not possible to fully stop. And that is why a lot of games have also implemented it, because it does really kill RMT. Not completely, there's always some level of it, but it puts a huge hamstring slice on RMT and gold sites. We very actively follow what third-party sites are doing, and we do have a way of tracking it internally where we can see when we're listed on like a gold site. And this feels a little bit weird to share maybe, but it's obvious. So I don't feel like I'm letting the cat out of the bag, because every MMO deals with this. But we're already, there's a lot of gold sites that have already listed us for launch. And while, yes, we are going to be hyper vigilant on banning people that we catch in RMT. So just so you know, like if you're caught in RMT, guys, it will not be a warning. It'll be a permanent ban. It is simple as that. And we know we will catch a lot of people. But we know it'll still exist. And that is also a big reason a lot of studios introduce something like a coin, because instead of gold selling sites that have risks of hacking, risks of viruses, risk of just scamming and not giving the person whatever, they figure, okay, well, at least then the studio gets funded and at least they have a safe way to transact, right? And for every person that does it, one person gets to play with Patron that didn't get to before, right? Or in like WoW's case, one person plays WoW that doesn't play before. So we understand there's pros and cons to it, guys, and that is why it is something that we've discussed for hundreds of, well, collectively between over hundreds of hours. It is something that we talk a lot about, and we hear all of your guys' questions and asking us to implement something like that so that you can get Patron, or that you can afford it, whatever. We hear it and we appreciate you guys letting us know. But right now we don't have plans on it for launch, just so you guys know. That's not to say that it might not come later, if we feel that we can do it in a good way. Because again, we know there's people in here that are going to be very upset knowing that they can't get Patron on launch. And we apologize for that. And hopefully you can find a way. But that is just the reality of it. Yeah. Can we buy Ravendawn mouse pads, mugs, etc.? Not currently, but the mouse pad thing especially has been requested so much that that we're considering it. we did some like really cool merch designs for content creators. To be clear, not all content creators. I'm sorry if there's one in here that didn't get one. We sent it to like most of like the OG ones. They're expensive to make, those content creator boxes. They're not cheap, so we obviously can't send them to every single content creator we have. If you are an active content creator though, you know, we see that, and you might get one in the future because we do keep doing them. But we also do like staff Christmas boxes, and we made a lot of really cool merch, and the mouse pads were a huge hit. We are very much considering doing it. The biggest thing is like doing production like that and merch is like a whole nother company and like job, and like a lot, it's quite a bit of work, especially if we want to make sure it's like really good quality, which we would. And like, you know, if we send like a mouse pad to a content creator and there's like a small little damage on the paint, like, okay, whatever, like it's not a huge deal, right? But if we sent that to somebody like a paying customer, that would be a huge deal. We'd be very upset about that. And so it becomes a whole different thing, right? It's a lot of quality control, a lot of work, a lot of shipping. But it's been asked so much that we will definitely consider in the future. But yeah, and it's also not that cheap either. To be clear, like when you're doing a niche custom mouse pad, it is not very cheap. And so we couldn't sell them for very cheap is the problem, right? If you're a huge game like League of Legends or WoW, you can sell them at a very low price because you can get them like manufactured somewhere overseas for super cheap, and do like big bulk orders. We could never do that, right? Like, you know, the biggest orders we could bring in are probably like 2,000 mouse pads at a time, right? We couldn't bring in like 10,000 mouse pads, 20,000 mouse pads. So damn, you went really deep on it. I didn't even think about sanctions. Yeah, sanctions are really a big bummer. It is really sad when someone, and we've seen it way more, I think just because of our recent like more advertising push, but like Russia's a huge country and they cannot, we cannot sell stuff to them. And so those players, everyone that wants to play from like Russia or any sanctioned country, they cannot engage with our shop. Can't take money from them. So they have no option, right? This is not, yeah. Anyways, and there's a lot of cases like this, and I understand, guys, that it is easy to say it's just because the developer is greedy, and there are a lot of cases of that in monetization. Don't get me wrong. This is one of the ones that I feel very passionately that is not. It is really just many times it is a pick your poison scenario. The reason why all of these big studios, even ones that like don't have any reputation for being pay to win, still have it, is because it is sometimes a necessary evil, right? It counters sanctions. It counters, weird way of saying that, but it helps with sanctions, helps with payment processing, helps with countries that can't afford it, helps with people that don't have a credit card, helps with people that can't afford to buy with a credit card, helps with dealing with RMT like a lot, and yeah. Do you guys plan to introduce jewel crafting in the game? Yeah, we have a lot of plans for new professions. Alchemy and herbalism will come first, but jewel crafting is my favorite profession from World of Warcraft. So I think it'd be fun to add. But that would be in the future. That would not be like in the soon. Herbalism or alchemy will be soon. The Patreon will be able to buy and get. Yeah, sorry, I just answered that question, but I think I'm 6 minutes behind. So you're asking the same question again. It gets asked all the time. That's why I want to talk about it. Like 300, well, more than 300 people here because there's other streams too. But for the people that are in Twitch, sorry, I'm just turning my head. But this gets asked like nonstop throughout the day. And we get messages all the time, tickets open all the time. So yeah, official RMT worked really well in Tibia, I guess. Yeah, I mean, Tibia had like one of the biggest RMT problems. Yeah. And again, this is something that we've hotly debated within our own team and testers and stuff like that. This is something that we talk about all the time, guys. This is not something we take lightly. And one of the things that I always go back to is before the WoW token, 40% of WoW players admitted to doing RMT on gold selling sites, third-party sites. And a lot of those people get scammed. A lot of those people get hacked. A lot of those people get taken advantage of. And ultimately, the money goes to shitty third-party gold sites that are doing something that they're not supposed to do because it's not allowed in the terms of service. And instead, the developers get a benefit from it because it's going to happen either way. That's my opinion on it, and that's where I've always been on it. But we also understand that this is something that if we ever did, it would be handled super delicately. We would not allow people to just ramp stuff up. We would do this in a very, like, you guys know how much we care about this project. You guys know we've worked on this project for 7 years now, getting on 8. This has been like our passion and our work for like a third of our adult lives, right? Like, really understand that. Like, if you put that many years into something, which many of you I'm sure have, and it's been like a third of your adult life, if not a half for some, well, no, a third. And you would understand how much we care about that, right? Also just to clear up, to be clear, what is being asked is making Raven coins tradable, okay? To be clear, we will have Raven coins in the game. This is a little bit of a confusion because some people think Raven coins and they just think of like Tibia coins, which are tradable on the marketplace, right? This is a complete different answer. We will have Raven coins just like Riot has Riot points. So you will buy them and then you will use them on the shop. That is already in the game. That's how the shop will function. Just like Riot, like League of Legends with Riot points, stuff like that. What is specifically being asked though is if we would allow that to be tradable so that other people could get patron and stuff like that. I just want to make super clear. No, they cannot use PayPal either, Rex. Or sorry, they might be able to use PayPal. We cannot accept their PayPal though. We have to set up sanctions on our side. So yeah, unfortunately, it doesn't matter what processor they use. We are not able to accept their money if they're from a sanctioned country because we are a Canadian company. Some companies in some countries can, and that's how they get around it. But we do not do that. I heard there is a level cap at 75, but it is a hard cap. It is a soft cap. So your EXP slows down a ton, but you can level past that, and that is where legacy skills will come in, which will be teased this week. You will get legacy skills. Why don't you accept crypto? Would resolve that issue. We do accept crypto. That doesn't change the fact that we cannot accept it if it is from Russia. If they are somehow faking their location and sending money via whatever method, that is on them, but we cannot facilitate that or encourage that. And yeah. And I also just don't encourage you guys to do that. I know it sucks, but it's also for your own benefit. I mean, usually a user won't get in trouble for it, but I don't know. Sanctions are a thing for a reason, and governments usually don't like it when you try and fuck with them. So, but of course, like if someone did that, we can't control that. We just can't allow it on our side. Or if we notice that they were doing that, right? I think there's no downsides to be able to get Raven coins with silver, or patron with silver. I think there are some. Again, it's really like a pick your poison. That's truly how I feel. Will we be able to play at 2 p.m. with patron, or will there be a queue problem? So again, I talked about it a little bit earlier. Not a queue problem. We will have a strict queue to make sure those early zones don't have like 500 people on top of each other or 1,000 people on top of each other. So there may be a queue, but this is not a problem. We intentionally have that in to make sure that those zones are not a chaotic mess. They will already be busy, don't get me wrong, but we want to avoid like 1,000 people stacked on the same screen. So there likely will be a queue on launch. We will have a lot of channels open to facilitate as best as possible, and then we will reduce the channels as we make the channels have more players. Just to be clear. Yeah. And also, one thing I should explain, guys, for anyone who doesn't understand how our queue system works, our queue system is channel specific. It'll filter you into the shortest queue available automatically. If you are a patron, you will jump to the front of that queue with other patron people. However, this does not guarantee that you will jump in faster than another person, because if another person gets in a queue that randomly goes a little bit faster, that happens. Just like your queue could go a little bit faster. We explain this because some people didn't understand that and were kind of confused. And I just want to explain that it will put you in the shortest queue that's available, and it will move you to the front of that queue. But that does not guarantee that if someone's on another channel queue, that they won't get in. Like maybe they're a spot behind you, but they get in before you. That can happen. It's unlikely, but it does happen. I just want everyone to understand how that works. Yeah. So you are going to be able to buy Raven coins and sell for something. I just made super clear that that is not currently the state. I just wanted to discuss what everyone has been asking about in great detail and make it very clear. Hopefully not too many people still took just what they wanted to hear out of it, because that is why we stopped kind of doing live streams. Hopefully the 5+ minutes or 10 minutes I rambled about it made our position super clear. But purchase patron status for my account, will it start after the game is released or immediately? It will start once we release on January 16th. So if you buy patron now, not a single day will be consumed. Not sure I understand it clearly. Yeah, sorry, I went a little hard on you there. Just internal frustrations. You didn't understand it clearly, but I understand there's second language and I talk fast. We talked a lot about dealing with bots earlier in the game, or earlier in the live stream. So please, watch the VOD at D35X. Fajinas, in MMOs, people have lives selling stuff in-game and broke the in-game market with RMT. We just talked about that for 10 minutes. So if you just go a little bit back, we talk a lot about it. Also, because I think I see one person in here that I believe is a user involved in an RMT site planned for launch. You're in here? Fuck you. Okay, get out. I don't know if it's for sure him, so I don't want to ban him. But yeah. Sorry, a lot of people are kind of like chatting to each other, answering stuff. So I'm just reading through that, making sure I don't to that. Thanks, Bud, for the response. Yeah, no, of course, that's what this is all about. Yeah, Divine, totally agree. The primary issue that arises when a player exchanges euro for silver without any limitations. Someone could spend 20. Exactly. So that's why I made it super clear that like I do think limitations for stuff are really important. And to be clear, guys, BDO, BDO is like 8 years old now. I've played it on and off. They have limitations for this in BDO, and they do allow this, just like every game, but they actually have limitations. And there are not a lot of games that have limitations. I don't think any other game has limitations other than BDO to it. And BDO just won MMO of the year, or fan voted MMO of the year, which is more important. Fan voted things are way more important than just titles. But they just won MMO of the year. And I very much think while they have that in the game, they handle it in a very mature and ethical way, as opposed to, as mentioned, somebody having no limitation and just going freaking crazy. Show the screenshot from the starting area crowded with people. I don't have that screenshot, but you can send it in the Discord chat or a link in. But yes, there. One thing to mention is in the tutorial, players are layered, right? So they don't actually see each other, but you're actually beside each other. Sorry to break your immersion. You're actually all in the same spot, but you're layered. But we can see it from a GM view. We can see every player, and it is hilarious. It was hilarious to watch the open beta and see how many people there was in that area. It'll be even funnier on launch because we're very much expecting like magnitudes of 10 times more players for the open or for launch than we're on the open beta. And you guys already saw the open beta was crazy. Yeah, we expect very big things for the 16th. And by expect, I should say, we're not like wishful. Like we have data already on why we believe that was the case. Yeah. You mentioned it will be possible to click to move, but when doing so, will the character take the shortest path mean they move diagonally? No, they will not move diagonally currently. And we want it that way. We want it where if you're like hands on the wheel, so to speak, it is like the most optimal. But we also understand that sometimes you just want to lean back and run to your house and just click. You know what I mean? And so that's why we added it. Honest RMT. Honest RMT is good for economic and game popularity. Also, developers do not lose money. I mean, yeah, that's in like you just said in like the shortest way possible. The game popularity part is the part that I think a lot of people don't understand. It actually is very important for game popularity. Virtually every single MMO in the world that added in-game ability to get like membership in RuneScape or Tibia coins or WoW token, all of these MMOs grew after doing it. They did not shrink because more people now are able to access the game than before. And that is the true reality, whether people want to admit it or not. We go through a lot of data. I've had many discussions with people about it, and they right away ask for data, and I right away am able to find it again because we've gone through it all before. It was indeed an awesome answer on Raven coins. Yeah, I mean, I want to take the opportunity to like really say it all because I can say 1,000 words in 5 minutes here rather than typing that. And I think it's important because this is something that we think a lot about. Why don't you give premium to those who bought founder picks? You're the only game that's done this. It's horrible. We are the only game that has not given premium to someone with a founder pack. and are you saying like when we first released the founders packs, we should have also gave patron in them? Or are you saying now that 4 years after people bought them and we introduced patron that we're not now also giving that to them, that it's horrible? Or are you the kind of person I talked about earlier? First time chatting, so Louise answered in the YouTube chat. What a saint. Will we be able to increase our inventory size by crafting rewards? Yeah, there will be multiple ways to increase your inventory size in game. Caught me. Better. Will the game at launch have a decent amount of sea events? There already are a handful of sea events. Right now, the sea is more meant to be like a fishing / ocean warfare landscape. Not as much a PvE landscape. However, we do want to add more PvE purposes and even some PvP events possibly in the future. The ocean is definitely something that we want to put more attention into with time. I have a question about the game's Polish language. Will the Polish language be available with the old game? Not really sure what you're asking there. We won't have Polish for launch, but we will. We are hoping to add it in the future. I didn't get to play any of the betas, but I haven't been more pumped for a game in a long time. Best of luck, Ravendawn team. Thank you. That's like really, really nice. Appreciate that. It's been incredible to see how many new people we've had join, not only before the open beta, but just in the last like week. And it just every day is like faster and faster and more people joining. It's really, really cool to see. Can you give us a little spoiler about something prepared for launch? I did a lot of spoilers earlier in the stream, so you'll have to watch the VOD, but I dropped a ton of stuff in. Will the game work on VPNs like no ping X like a launch? Yeah, absolutely. I mean, assuming their platforms work, I'm not in control of that. But we do have a built-in proxy that is in many ways better than theirs, but at times also worse. So it all kind of depends where you are. I would try our proxy that's built in. You don't have to do anything. It automatically will put you on it if it improves your ping. And but then you can also try them and see if you get a better result. So. Someone's asking if we'll add elements to the game, like different, like no, probably not. Most games nowadays don't have that, and even like World of Warcraft got rid of it because it's just not really the best system. You're remembering, this is the same guys before, remembering that we promised there would be something for founders if we ever launched premium. That is never promised. I have no idea where you got that from. If we promised something like that, we would have put it on the shop with the founders packs for obvious reasons, because that would be way better for monetizing them. We never share that. I'm not sure where you heard that from, but I understand the queue, but you will no longer have a problem of returning from 10 to 178. Yeah, that was a bug, but we fixed that already on the day of the open beta. That was in like the first couple hours, and then it was fixed. But this isn't to say that there might not be a problem that comes up. Problems come up. We can't always see every problem, but that issue was fixed. I do respect McHammer asking about the elements thing, because you've asked the same question in 5 different ways. And I actually respect that a lot, because it means you work to type it up in different ways how to maybe answer. I did answer it now, but just scrolling down. Speaking of inventory size, there's so many cosmetic items. Would you consider making an inventory tab just for cosmetic items? Yeah, this has been asked for like creature products, cosmetics, crafting products. Maybe. It's not as simple as you would think for us to do that. It's a little bit of work. And so right now it's not on our to-do list, but yeah, definitely in the future we might add something like that. Get lost, dude. No talks to people today. Appreciate that. Okay, thanks for the answer. Yeah, no problem. Could you guys make an FAQ so we don't bother asking the same question? We do have an FAQ, a very large FAQ on the website and in the Discord, and people do not read them. Yeah. It even tells you to read the FAQ, but people do not read the prompt telling them to read the FAQ. That's okay. I don't mind answering the same questions today. Is it gamepad support? There is. We don't have native gamepad support, but there are people that have done it and made tutorials on it. You might have to look around. If you search it in the Discord, you'll probably find it. But there are people who are fully playing on different gamepads. So, what about houses of people who stopped playing? What will happen to them? They will be available. Basically, right now we have a system where if you don't pay rent after a certain amount of time, your land gets forfeited. Someone else can take it. It gets wiped, though, to be clear. And we will also be adding like an idle system. So if they don't play within a certain amount of days, they will lose it. Don't worry. Don't worry. Like if you go on like a 2-week vacation, you're not going to lose your land because you don't log in. It won't be that short, but we will have a system where if someone's clearly like not playing anymore, they could lose their land. Is there no way to rewind the live stream? There should be in YouTube. Otherwise, I'm pretty sure YouTube auto publishes a VOD after the stream ends. Said about GVGs being added later after the release. How long do you expect people to get level 40, 50? And do you guys add the GVG? Yeah, so we don't have a set date for adding the guild versus guild stuff in the game. It'll be on our roadmap though that we release this week, so you can take a look then. But I can't say one right now to you guys. But in terms of how long it takes to get to 40, 50, depends on the player. There will be people that get it pretty early on. Keep in mind that levels slow down a lot. We feel that the game really starts feeling the way that we want it to when you're around level 50. That's when there's enough skill points for you to really like have fun customizing. Your gear has taken enough direction. You have enough Raven cards to try new builds. That's where we really like the bulk of the game to be played. So we want 1 to 50 to be an accelerated experience. So it just progressively gets slower. But don't think because you get to 1 to 40 in like X time, they're gonna get 40 to 75 in the same time, because it'll be not the case. Will the API be public so guilds or so people can make Discord bots and stuff like that? Yeah. You're basically asking if the API will be public. We mentioned earlier that we will probably open it up to specific people, but we won't just have it public. You'd have to request access. Sesh, we've shared some player numbers in like our announcements channel. We don't just like toss around numbers though. We share certain milestones. And the main reason, like, I would answer you right now because our open beta numbers were insane. I just don't have them on hand. So. A mobile version would be awesome for things like land tax and such. Yeah, exactly. That's why we keep talking about a Ravendawn Lite version. Our goal when we make our first version of Ravendawn on mobile, which would connect to the main game, would be essentially to manage your land, do crafting, marketplace, stuff like that. It would not be to like run around and do quests and stuff like that. It would be and the reason why we want to do that to start is because it will be a lot simpler for us to do. So we can deliver that a lot easier. So instead of waiting like 2 years to deliver it, we could hopefully deliver it sooner. Yeah, sorry, Padre, I'm not, he said, I went to the site and saw your FAQ, but didn't have questions like the elemental wheel and stuff like that. Yeah, sorry, I'm not commenting to you. The guy was just asking, like, some people ask questions that are asked a ton, and could they be, or could we have an FAQ section? And I was just saying that a lot of the questions that are asked a ton are in the FAQ section, but people don't read it anyways. Your question was not. You're saved. You're fine. How many players do you expect at the start? 1 million. Anything less, and we burn the house down. Planning to add pets later on. Peepo happy. Do you mean like pets as in like a hunter from World of Warcraft or a warlock from World of Warcraft or like tamer from BDO where like it's like fight, like you're fighting pet, or like pets to your house? Because I'll answer that. Fighting pets, we're undecided on. Summoner classes make a game impossibly hard to balance. We would not do a standard summoning class like a hunter or that's a clip. Yeah, seriously. Or necromancer or warlock from WoW. We would not do a standard one like that. We'd probably look more at like how Final Fantasy 14 and 11 have done their summoner classes. But we don't have plans for one right now. There are some Raven cards that summon stuff, or trinkets, sorry, that summon stuff. So there are certain ways. If you're talking about house pets, we do already have house companions, and we are hopefully in the future going to make them feel more like pets, where they actually run around your house and you can engage with them in different ways. They run around your land and stuff like that. So if you're wanting one of the companions from the supporter pack, you better go get one. Because we would do this retroactively. It would work for all the old companions too. When will the first Stronghold auction be? That will be well in advance announced because they're not in the game yet. How far in the roadmap is the next archetypes? It's a ways down. It would be for like our first like major like expansion. To be clear, it would not be like a patch in like 2 months or something like that. Nighter, what do you play in your free time? I will be honest. I have barely played any games for the last year. Because I almost every minute am working on something or disconnecting, like watching football or going out for food or playing football or something. I'm kind of always disconnecting when I'm not working. Because right now most days I am working pretty much every minute. I'm not disconnecting. And so I really haven't played a lot of games. I've obviously played a little bit of some. I played a little bit of Season of Discovery, which was a lot of fun. But when I do play games, my favorite games are still to this day. I still love StarCraft 2, even though it is dead as F. Well, not completely dead. Like you can still like ladder up and get instant games and stuff. But I think part of the reason I still love StarCraft 2 is because it's like a nostalgic thing for me. Lagging. Did it really drop? I don't think I've ever had that happen before. I'm not joking. 1 million players launch day or bust. Sorry, just to continue on the question. I still love StarCraft 2, but I think that's for 2 reasons. One, nostalgia, but also because like that is a game that still this day I'm like really good at. So I love the fact that I can just like log in and still feel like I'm one of the better players. Not to brag, but I am bragging. The one other game I do really love and I play every expansion is WoW, but only for Arena. I don't do any PvE. I just leveled to max and I play Arena. I love WoW Arena. My football team is the Los Angeles Chargers. Someone asked where my jerseys are. They're on the walls on that side, so I can't really show you guys. But yes, lots of Chargers jerseys. I have been there's a fucking Chiefs guy in here. Oh, that's so close to a ban. I'm literally hovering over a ban right now. Wow. Fake football. I mean, American football. Yeah. If you're not from the US, you would call it American football. God damn, a Chiefs fan. That makes me sick. But yes, I've been a Chargers fan since I was, I guess, 9 or 10. So like 22 years. So that's why I'm a very sad person. Yeah, 1 million players minimum. If we don't pass New World, it's a bust. Bust. At least you're not a Bengals fan. Listen, truth is, almost every sports franchise is hateable, okay? Except for the ones that are really bad. But then they're almost hateable because you like hate the fact that they like such a bad team, which is kind of the Chargers right now. When I was living in Vancouver, all people talked about was hockey. That's very interesting. So I live very close to Vancouver. You probably lived in Vancouver when the Canucks were like really good. There was a time where hockey was like everything. It's very interesting because when I grew up, I say hockey was way more talked about. Nowadays, it's I would probably say American football, even in Canada. Like I have a lot of friends that were huge hockey fans growing up, and almost none of them watch hockey anymore, and they're all like football fans now. But to be clear, this is like very subjective bias. Or I shouldn't even say that because there's actually data to show this. Like the NFL is the only sports league in the world that's growing, I think. Sorry for you football or you soccer fans, but that's the reality of it. Football is the only growing viewership sport in the world right now. American football. Tennis ain't hateable. Fun fact, my aunt was a Wimbledon tennis player. I guess this is probably an amount of docs that is okay because people know my last name already. But Sandra Dopfer is my aunt. That is not my last name, Nuclear, but it is my aunt's last name. But so growing up, I was forced to play a lot of tennis. But I enjoy tennis. Tennis is fun. I don't mind watching it. I don't watch a lot of it, but tennis has always been I love playing tennis. It's a lot of fun. It's just a huge commitment. And like no one here plays tennis. Or very, very few people here play tennis. A lot of people play pickleball here now though. Ravendawn trumps football. I agree with that. Sadly, that is a very tough one for me, but I agree with that. But they're both very damn close. I don't want to sound pessimistic, but isn't Ravendawn too niche to reach 1 million launch? Yes, sir. I'm joking. I mean, 1 million players is like, I don't think a Lost Ark had 1 million players, and these are games made by like 400 developers. I was kidding. We won't reach 1 million players. That is absurd numbers. I think one thing that people sometimes forget is there are MMOs that still are a ton of fun to play and still feel very popular. And like you play them and you're like, oh, there's such a big community and there's so much stuff happening that have like 1,500 daily active players. And we are like magnitudes more than that, obviously. But I think people forget this sometimes that like a game with 1 million players, this is spread across so many servers, so many communities, so many regions. Yeah, because even when Albion launched, it was not a very big game. Like they continue to grow year after year just because they're really passionate about that project. And I love the Albion team. I think they do amazing stuff. But keep in mind, like the Albion team, like they were not that big on launch. It was not that big of a game, and it continued to grow because they were just made by a passionate team who did the right decisions and continue to make the game better. And now it's a very big game. But the game felt super vibrant and popular when it was out, even when it wasn't very big. Electronic playing tennis. Do you play tennis? Are you not a nerd? What are you doing here? I am the biggest hybrid of nerd slash normie, I guess. Yeah, like pretty much my biggest time commitment outside of work is American football. I love American football. I still play to this day. It is something that I'm super passionate about. I play like normally 3 seasons around the year, spring and fall, and then we play an arena league as well. And I love American football, and I love a lot of sports, but I also love video games. So, and other nerdy shit. I have like 10 3,000 point Warhammer armies. I have tons of Pokemon Magic. Just looking at my shelf, because I have a million things on there. I like pretty much anything nerdy as well. I play quarterback. I played quarterback for 11 years now. It kind of, funny enough, goes hand in hand with like owning or running a company, I guess, because it's like many times I notice there's like very similar things you have to do as playing quarterback and as running a company. They kind of work really well, and I actually like learn things from each other that help each other in both. Yu-Gi-Oh, definitely Yu-Gi-Oh. Are you a VR fan? I love VR. It's just not accessible enough right now, and but I really enjoy VR. For a while, I used to play. My best friend at the time, well, still my best friend. He moved to Vancouver a few years ago, and so for a while there during COVID, we'd play VR poker together, which was a lot of fun. Then you're just a normal person. Yeah, I think that's fair. I think it's good to be normal, but I think some normal people they don't geek out over stuff, right? But I do agree that nowadays it's becoming more normal, or more normal people geek out over stuff, if that makes sense. Yeah. The VR'd on. Blade and Sorcery, I heard really good things about. Ravendawn Go, hell yeah, that'd be so fun. Do you tend to open new vacancies for testers? Probably in the future, but not right now. The testers were really like the most important phase for our internal testers was really leading up to the open beta to get everything prepped for that. VR Ravendawn is real? No, it isn't. Niter, what changes made in the last beta you thought were great? I mean, any changes we made in the last beta that weren't changed in the launch patch notes that are coming next week? That's your answer. He's Calvin Harris kind of normal. In what way, out of curiosity? I actually don't know much about Calvin. I like his music, but I don't know much about him. Like I assume that you mean he's like a geek, and I use that in a positive way. Normal, but a gamer AF. Yeah, I love that. I think it's good. I think it's good to be balanced. I think it's good to be a balanced person. My parents always raised me to like, I had to play sports. I had to be involved in certain things, but I also was allowed to play video games. And I think that's important. I think it's good to be a balanced person because sometimes you lose a certain hobby, and it's nice to have another hobby to go to when you lose it, right? When will be the first Ravendawn meetup party after the release? This is something that we absolutely want to do. BGS was so much fun last year, and it kills me that we're not down there right now, or that we didn't go down there, I should say, for the last one. But we definitely want to do some meetup stuff, and possibly like if anyone knows like the Ruin Fest and stuff like that, doing a really small scale version or a smaller scale version of that would be a lot of fun. I love stuff like that. It was so fun, like meeting so many of our players, and that was back when Ravendawn was so small compared to what it is now. But it was so cool, like meet like guild leaders and players and chat with them. And yeah, just hang out. Are you planning to come to any game conventions in Europe? Not currently, but that would definitely go into hand in hand with exactly what I just said about meetups, because game conventions is the best way to do that. So we definitely would like to. I will say one thing about game conventions, they're in a weird spot right now. And that weird spot is not a lot of games go to them. That was what really bummed us out about BGS, is 80%, if not more, probably more like 90% of the booths. What am I even saying? Of course it was 90%, maybe even more than that, 90% of the boosts were just product endorsements, YouTube, Twitch, HyperX, and they were just throwing around merch with big speakers screaming. And that really bummed us out. It really bummed us out because I thought it was going to be way more games. And that made me, a little bit disappointed. And I think that is where a lot of conventions are going, because those products pay a lot more money for their gaming chair to be featured that they sell for 500% markup than a indie studio, right? And I hope that the way this changes is people that go to them stop liking that. And because of that, game conventions give significant discounts to games, if not free boosts, if they do a really good. Because going to conventions, guys, is incredibly expensive. And for a game, it is way better just to advertise with ads than to go to a convention. So yeah, like we did BGS because we wanted to meet with our fans and hang out with our fans and provide a really cool experience. But it was dollar for dollar. It was a terrible way to spend money. We really did it because we wanted it to be something special that we would remember for years to come and to be closer with our community. But it is not a good way to spend money. And that's why most games don't advertise at game conventions anymore. Or less and less every year. Obviously still some do, but less and less do every year. But I think doing something ourselves could be really cool. That is just focused on Ravendawn, have some cool, fun attractions, cool hangouts, stuff like that. That'd be really fun. And I think we'd have a shit ton of people come too, to be honest. Just seeing like the amount of traffic that went through our BGS booth when we were like way less popular and not even live. By the way, guys, I've been just like rambling the last 45 minutes. It's crazy that pretty much everyone is still here. That's wild to me. Some people have disappeared, but that's really flattering, guys. Thank you. I guess everyone's kind of in the same boat, right? As me. We're just waiting for Ravendawn to release, right? So what else do we have to do? See ya. All right, guys. I'm probably gonna wrap it up here. Because 3 hours of talking, my voice is gonna go. So the last thing I want to say, guys, is we have our gameplay launch trailer dropping on Monday. We have our gameplay launch trailer, our official gameplay release launch trailer dropping on Monday. We worked really hard on this and we're very excited about it. We wanted to showcase a bunch of different features in Ravendawn in a really short and compact way. And the one thing I just want to say, guys, is I cannot overstate how beneficial it is to us when you guys engage with the stuff that we post. This was something that got asked a lot during the open beta, and especially when the open beta went down, is a lot of new people were like, hey, like we had a ton of fun. We really want to support the game. How can we support it? And obviously, like getting our supporter packs or pre-ordering a year of Patreon or getting the cosmetic add-ons, that obviously financially supports us and is really helpful. And thanks a ton for those of you that choose to do that. It means a lot to us. But the other way, for those that can't spend money, is completely free. And it's just liking videos, liking posts, commenting on posts, sharing posts. These things, for anyone who doesn't understand how algorithms work, if we post a video and within an hour, a ton of people like it, a ton of people comment on it, that will get jam-packed at the top of other people's feeds, people that have never heard about Ravendawn as well. We had a lot of people come from the cinematic that had never heard of Ravendawn, but it came up in their feed because our cinematic had so much engagement and so many views. So I just want to say, like, for all of you guys here, the people here that are still here probably really fucking love Ravendawn and really want to see it do well. Commenting on stuff, whether it's social posts or more importantly, YouTube videos, and engaging with them, whether it's a like or a dislike if you really hate it. But that stuff actually helps us so much. And it's hard to express that, but it actually helps a lot more than you'd expect. Sometimes just getting that traction the first hour posting a video can make a trailer go completely viral, where instead of getting 50,000 lifetime views, it gets 500,000 lifetime views. And that's 450,000 more people that heard about Ravendawn. It costs you nothing to do, and it helps us a ton. So, a sneak peek of the trailer. Bad news is also news. A sneak peek of the trailer. All right, I'll give you guys a sneak peek. I'm going to forewarn you, though. You're going to hate me. Don't get too excited. Hold on. How do I do this? Okay. Oh, no. I don't. Okay. Yeah. It's going to have weird formatting, though. I got to go desktop audio. It's on. All right. You guys are going to get a sneak peek, okay? Oh, see, the audio is not even working. Why is the audio not working? Oh, because I'm not playing on my end. Audio worked? Okay, here's you guys a sneak peek, okay? Enjoy. Yeah, there you go. Sneak peek. Just for the Twitch stream, just for the Twitch viewers and the YouTube viewers. Congratulations. You guys have just received a huge spoiler. You will get to watch the rest on Monday the 10th. Please, guys, don't spoil, okay? Don't go into Discord chat and share all the stuff that you already saw in the trailer. We don't want to spoil it for the rest of the community. You guys are an exclusive group, and you guys get an advanced look. Okay, thanks so much, guys. Again, really appreciate all you guys being in here. This was a ton of fun. I really do enjoy doing these. I missed my chance to rickroll the community. I did, and that is an L. I will get better, though. I will improve. Yeah, these are a ton of fun to do, guys. Again, this one, we didn't want to like blow it up with an announcement and giveaways and all that stuff, because I just wanted to do something small with a part of the community. And it's crazy how many of you guys were here just with like messages in the general chats. Means a ton to me, but I always enjoy doing this. Love answering your questions. And we will see you guys on January 16th. And yeah, we have a lot of announcements to come, guys, starting I think tomorrow or Monday. There will be like almost every day something announced. So look forward to that, and look forward to January 16th. See you.